I'd like to welcome back to the show, all-time returning champion of the show, Richard Botto from Stage 32. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing excellent, my friend. How you doing?
Just living the quarantine life, man.
Yeah, yeah.
just living the quarantine life.
House arrest. This is house arrest, man.
House arrest with children, which is always fun.
God bless you, man. God bless you.
No, God bless my wife. God bless my wife, because if
That is true.
I couldn't be doing this right now because I would have Rugrats running around all around me, and I wouldn't be able to do this. But I wanted to bring you on the show because we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Like, we need to talk about what's happening in our industry right now, and you have some, you got information about stuff from your side of the fence. I've got stuff from my side of the fence that, we hear rumblings from friends and things and seeing things that are happening. And I wanted to kind of just put together this conversation about where we are right now, what's happening right now, and where we're going, and what lies in the future for our industry in general. So first and foremost, how are you handling the quarantine, sir?
I'm handling. First of all, it's great to be back on the indie film hustle show. I mean, how many times we've done this? At least 10. Maybe?
We're getting close to a baker's dozen soon, sir.
A baker's dozen.
Okay, I think we're like 10. So we got a few more between a baker's dozen.
Yeah. Now you sent me the silk robe when I got to 5, and now I'm thinking maybe like a kimono or something, something like that.
I send you a mask. I send you a diamond encrusted mask.
That's nice.
Very Bane style. Bane style, though.
Okay. I'll hang that on the wall when this is all over. Yeah, that's really nice.
Have you seen have you seen those masks that are the face huggers from Alien?
I have. Yeah, I did.
I do need to get them.
Some of them are really creative. Yeah. Well, necessity is the mother of all invention, right?
I mean, it is the world that we live in right now. It is a crazy world. So how are you holding up, man?
I'm holding up good, man. It's interesting. I've had, obviously, as you have, I've had conversations with dozens now, if not hundreds of people that are, dealing with this. And it's interesting to see that, there's two different types of I think, people in a lot of ways. I think there are some people that are just saying like, fuck it. And, I'm going to relax, and I can't get motivated. I can't get into it. I have some friends that I know are getting up at 8 in the morning and binge watching till midnight. And then you have others who are really legitimately digging in. And especially within the industry, I think there's a lot of people in the know, especially the executives we work with, the professionals we work with, recognize the fact that even though maybe, shooting isn't happening per se, except in small pockets now, I believe in like Denmark, which is brilliant. Shooting isn't happening, that business is definitely happening. And, the need for content is there. There is going to be a gold rush when this is over. So I think that what I'm seeing is, a little bit of both. And for me personally, I mean, I can only control what I can control. We've talked about this in a million other podcasts and a million times, you and I privately, but it's like, there's only so much you can control, right? I mean, I'd love to believe that I could go downstairs into my garage and create a vaccine for this thing. But obviously there are people that are much smarter than I am. So I have to control what I can control. And for me, especially with some of the initiatives we have going on, it's really legitimately been 10 to 18 hour days, 7 days a week of working on Stage 32. And on those days where it's maybe on the lower end, where it's like 10, then it's been my creative pursuits. It's been, the writing and the producing and all that. So I'm trying to have fun with it. Obviously I'm recognizing when I say that, I don't want to be dismissive of what's happening around the world and all the tragedies and everything that are happening. And obviously all the people that are suffering with this. And I personally know some people that are suffering with it. But I'm saying in my day to day, staying safe, doing the best I can, trying to encourage others, trying to encourage myself and inspire myself and stay motivated, and doing a shitload of cooking, which I love, which is also a creative pursuit. Yeah. I love cooking. So
carbs are our enemy.
Not a lot of carbs, not even a lot of carbs, but I am cooking a ton, and a lot of working out, a lot of exercising and everything like that. Just trying to stay, again, healthy mentally and spiritually and all that.
So we're basically the scene from Goodfellas in the prison, where they're actually in prison, but they're cooking.
Yes,
they're cooking, and then
right.
and then you can work out if you want to.
That's true. Only I don't have 80 people here though. I don't have Johnny Dio here cutting the garlic with the razor blade. I don't have with the onions, doing too many onions. I don't have that going on. So But I have to kind of counter that. I have been cooking a lot of Italian food in mass quantities to give to like
Sure.
my neighbors and stuff like that, which is fun. It's fun to be able to sit there and say, like, you feel like you're cooking for 20 and, meanwhile you're kind of sitting there by yourself with a bottle of wine going like, what's happening? Like, and you get done, you're like, who the hell am I feeding? I have 16 lasagnas. Why am I taking these? So
it is an unprecedented time in our life, and in our lifetime. I think this has never happened in human history, and let alone to our industry, but just in general. Like our industry, it's obviously like every industry. It's been hit like a ton of bricks. The people I've been talking to, there's people who honestly believe it, like, oh, this will just fall over and we'll be back to normal and back as doing business as usual. And I keep telling them, like, if you think we're going to go back to way things were in every aspect of our business, you're absolutely pulling an ostrich and your head's in the sand. In my opinion, I can't see our industry going back to where it was. I'm not saying it won't get back to a place, but things will change. The world's going to change, so we're going to change with it. Do we agree?
Oh, I completely agree. I think it's changing already. And I think that the longer this goes on, the more change there'll be. I think that, obviously, I said a little earlier, like, invention is the mother of all necessity, or whatever the hell the line is, but that is the truth. And I think that as time goes on and people realize that, look, I need to make money, or I need to find content, or I need to, whatever the case is, for whatever you do in the business, you're going to have to find a new way. And there are a lot of new ways that are popping up already. But I think you're 100% right. I think that, first of all, let's even just talk about, if you want to just talk about the virus itself, I mean, from hour to hour, the news, everything changes, right? We hear, it's airborne, it hangs in the air for 5 hours, hangs in the air for an hour. If you get it, you're immune to it, you're not immune. So right now, I don't think anybody knows anything. I really don't. We're so early in this thing, and that's why I think people don't realize, because we're home we've been home for a little while, so everybody thinks it's been happening for a really long time. But, this is only 4, 5, 6 months since the first case was, seen or identified, let's say. And even then, everybody took it lightly. So here we are in a situation where the idea to me, based on everything that I'm reading and I'm seeing, the idea that we're going to be at film festivals or sitting in theaters or getting on planes to go to film festival, I mean, God bless Venice and everything. And, I understand. But again, they have a business to run. They're part of the Oscar cycle. I get it. So they're sitting there saying, we're going to do it somehow. But if they're going to do it somehow, they're going to do it with locals, and they're going to do it people sitting 15 aisles from one another, and the rest of it's going to have to go online, or something's going to have to go online. So it's just the idea of, what you're hearing, what I'm hearing from people that are like, oh, it's just going to go back to normal, I think is absurd. And I think it's already changing. And I think you are seeing that online movement. And I think even before this started, and you and I had this conversation a couple of weeks ago, but even before this started, what I was noticing was a lot of the executives in the business had started doing more Skype meetings and more Zoom meetings, simply because they didn't want to lose half their day in their car.
Oh yeah, right? It's more efficient. It's more efficient.
Yeah. So now what I'm hearing is, man, for the people that didn't buy into that, now when I have meetings with them over Zoom or over Skype, it's like, man, I'm never going back. I'm never getting in my car again, even when this is over. Like, I'm going to be doing all my meetings like this. Like, why not? So
why wouldn't you? Like, why wouldn't you? It makes it look. I've been, as you know, I've been Skyping and Zooming for 5 years doing this podcast. Yeah. So, I already drank that Kool-Aid a long time ago. I rarely go out to take meetings unless I have to. And generally they come to me because of Portos. But, but seriously though, the way the world, I think this is what I think is happening right now. We're being forced into scenarios that many people were uncomfortable trying to do. So scenario one, doing meetings in Skype. No, you need that personal touch. You need to be in the room with them. You need to do that. Yes. Okay. But the Skype meeting. Secondly, having a theatrical run, skip the theaters and go straight to home. That has been talked about for over a decade. As soon as streaming was a thing, people were already going, we want that window, that theatrical window to cut that. They've been trying to get that done. So now the excuse is, well, we have to. So now we're truly testing that. Film festivals. Is it a thing? You know, how are we going to, you know, like how important are they in the grand scheme of things other than a cultural event, like Jonathan Wolf says? These are a lot of things that are now being tested that people wouldn't have gone into them. It's kind of like going, do you want the electric car or do you want to stay with the gas guzzler? And it took a long time for the electric car to become a thing where it could have easily become a thing a decade earlier. You know, but it just took a long time for things to come around. So I feel that this is just a complete, just put the gas on the pedal kind of thing for all these things that we would have never, it would have taken us another decade to do this because the system is the status quo. Nobody wants to go against the system.
Well, and this is the industry of all industries that is resistant to change. And it's fascinating. And, you know, being at the front of Stage 32 for 9 years, we knew when we launched that we were going to be hit with, who the hell, why do we need you? Like, why the hell do we need that? We knew that going in. I mean, I was in the business, so I knew that. Okay. But we also knew that there was a spot for this and there was going to be a need for it. And there was also a vision. There was also, okay, this is where it's going to go. But it took 4 or 5 years for us to start gaining those partnerships like with AFM and CAN and everything like that, because this is an industry that's just resistant to change.
Super slow.
Now they're being forced. I mean, now we're seeing like the whole thing with the online markets, okay? There were companies that were looking to do online markets 5 years ago. I remember taking a meeting, I won't name the company, about 5 or 6 years ago that actually had set up an online market. And I thought it was brilliant at the time. And what I said to their CEO is, nobody will buy it. Nobody is going to, it's great. It's brilliant. It's the future. Nobody's going to buy into it. The people you need to buy into it are, you know, the markets, the producers, the sales agents, the distributors. You need them all to buy in. And obviously you need the filmmakers to trust and the producers to trust that they can put their product on your platform and they will see a result. Okay. Nobody wanted to dive in with them. Nobody wanted to. All of a sudden this year, CAN says, well, you know, we're still going to have our festival. And they kept pushing the date back and pushing the date back. And I love those guys. I mean, again, they're partners of ours. But they were looking to trying to figure out what they were going to do with the market. But finally, the agency said, well, screw it. We're not going to sit around. We're going to put it online. And CAN said, don't worry about it. We're going to do it.
We'll do it. No,
Yeah,
we were just joking. We were just joking. We were just figuring it out.
Now, I've known those guys for years. And I'm telling you that they had always thought about an online component. But at the same time, they didn't want to dilute, and I understand this, what CAN is. And I mean, it is a festival and a market unlike any other, you know what I mean? And it's in the setting and everything and the history, and, you know, it's undeniable. Okay. But what's also undeniable is it costs a lot of money to get there. It costs a lot of know-how. You need to have relationships. And a lot of people go and they don't, you know, a lot of people, any market, they go and they don't walk away with a deal. So if you don't walk away with a deal, or if you're not in the position to do this, what do you do the other, you know, 50 and a half weeks a year? Well, this is what's going to start happening now. There's going to be that online component. And it does exist, and it has existed in different places, rights trade, different things like this. But now I think it's going to become more the norm. And again, the further we go out, the more it's going to become the norm.
Yeah, it's kind of like when electricity showed up. There was a conversation like, no, kerosene. That's the future. Yeah. This is dangerous. Because the status quo didn't want to deal with it, and that happened with Blockbuster. That happened with the studio system, with streaming in general. It took forever to finally look. Disney Plus just showed up. What, this year? This year or late last year, when it came out. But it just showed up, and now everyone's like, oh, wait a minute, this is a real thing. Now it took forever. Forever. I mean,
look, if you know, we had this conversation as well. But if you know, somebody would have said to you 10 years ago or even 5 years ago that the majority of original television and smaller independents are going to be funded by Netflix and or other streaming platforms, everybody would have went, what are you smoking? What do you got there? Give me some of that. Okay. And now here we are. Right. So look, and that genie's out of the bottle. That genie's not going back in. Now everybody's saying, how the hell do I get to Netflix? How the hell do I get? And the studio's saying, how do we compete with it? And now all of a sudden everybody's going into the streaming game, as you just said, with Disney and everything like that. So look, this is just going to force a lot of people's hands. at the end of the day, this is a business, and a lot of people's businesses are being disrupted within the ecosystem. And to make those businesses survive, it's going to be, an adapt or die sort of business mentality. And I think that that's what's going to happen and going to continue to happen. And I mean, every day, what you're seeing, if you look at, the Hollywood Reporter, you look at Deadline, what you're seeing is innovation, consolidation, acquisitions. You're seeing it all day, every day. People are scooping up companies on the cheap that are in trouble. People are, they're combining companies, they're merging with companies that, where it seems like a fit where they could be a juggernaut coming out of this thing. Or there's this innovation happening, sort of what, Cannes did. Now, will Cannes continue that market online next year? Who knows? You know what I mean? Who knows? We'll see how it goes. Of course, I think they will go back to what they do best and what they are known for. But again, how long is it going to be before people are really comfortable getting on planes or being in a market, with 1,000 people around them at any given time? I don't know.
Yeah, and I was talking to somebody the other day about it. And I go, look, guys, I don't foresee myself going to a movie theater this year. As a frank on, I'm like, I don't care what the movie is. There's no movie that's going to make me go to the theater this year, probably. I don't foresee myself jumping on a plane this year. I don't see it. Especially not to go to a festival or a market or an event, because I don't foresee those being around this year either. And even if tomorrow Dr. Fauci shows up at the briefing and says, guys, we've got the vaccine, we've got this rock solid treatment, it's now as easy to deal with as a common cold, it's over the counter, it's all of this stuff, you're free to go. There's still going to be a hangover that people, the second that information does get out, there's still going to be probably a 6 month to a year hangover of this extreme situation that we're in, which is going to obviously affect consumers' behaviors, obviously going to affect people who are watching, consuming the content that we're creating. And I think we're in this for at least 2 years in one way, not like at home for 2 years.
Right.
But also 4 months ago, if I would have told you this, you would have said, what are you smoking? You're crazy.
Yeah.
You're not going to close down the entire planet. Like that's like the economy. What? Hollywood's going to shut down? What? No, all the theaters are shut. Like if I would have told you this in January, you would have said, Alex, there's absolutely no way this could happen. So I'm now saying, I don't think we're going to be locked up for 2 years. Who knows? I don't think so. I think it's, with all the information that we have today, I don't think that's going to happen. But our lives will be affected for at least a couple of years. And I don't even want to start talking about the economical hits that not only our industry is going to get hit with, but the world is going to get hit with still, because the water, I feel this is what's happening right now. The water is being pulled back from the shore. Just before that tidal wave comes in, it's just slowly being pulled back. You're like, hey, where'd all the water go? That's where we're at right now. That wave is starting to build out there, and when it comes, it's going to come hard. And that's my feeling economically. Within this year probably or next year, it's going to hit harder than we're even being hit right now. So I have no idea where we're going to be in that way. But I was like saying, we are going to have that hangover. And we have to start thinking that way. We have to start thinking that, look, it's 2 years. We're 2 years in. That's best case scenario is 2 years. Let's say 2022, things might start getting back to whatever new normal is at that point. Hopefully a vaccine would have already been coming out. Treatment's already been coming out. It's already starting to come down. Everything is starting to slow down a bit, and we can get a handle on this. But as creatives and creators, we need to start thinking about how we're going to place ourselves in that marketplace. Whatever that marketplace might be, you got to start thinking about that. What do you think?
I think if you haven't been thinking about it already, you're behind the curve. I mean, that's just the God's honest truth. I mean, again, we work with nearly 1,000 executives, right? We put out a call when this happened to almost all of them, and pretty much the entire list. And we said, tell us what you're working on, tell us what you're doing, tell us what you want to be doing, all that. I can't tell you how many responses. We got hundreds of people saying, send me material. Give us stuff we have time to read. Our actors, agents and managers. Well, if they're agents, they're like, our actors have time to read. They're looking for the next thing. If they're lit managers, we're looking. Lit agents, development executives, we're looking. So it has been fascinating to witness this and to, see how many people are coming to us looking for material. Jason Murch, who runs our director of script services, is like, I thought I was busy before. My email is overrun with people looking for material. Like, I need this, I need that. What do you got? Who's your best writer here? Who's your best writer there? So that's fascinating to me. I mean, I could tell you, on my side, on the creative, I'm writing a script right now that I was brought in to write by the heads of Zero Gravity, and I talk to them all the time, and they're like, we don't have enough hours in the day. We don't have enough manpower to handle all the requests, all the stuff, all the things we're developing. Okay, because what everybody that's in the know realizes right now is that this will come to an end. Okay, and when it does, the need for content and desire for content, especially fresh content, is going to be off the charts. So my advice to creatives right now is, if you are in a position to actually create something, if you're a writer, or even if you're an actor, you could work on monologues, do table reads, get people together to stay fresh and to stay active or whatever. If you're a producer and you're trying to develop a project or whatever, there are so many people looking to do these things right now. And for a lot of people, the other thing that we're seeing on Stage 32, which I think is awesome, and I just think it's inspiring to me to watch it, is our education, people taking our education, webinars and everything, is through the roof, because you're seeing a lot of people that are working in one discipline looking to learn another discipline, or looking to further the craft they're already working in, or the discipline they're already working in. And it's been awesome to see. Like, I know a lot of writers, for example, who are taking filmmaking classes on Stage 32, taking producing classes on Stage 32, because this is the other part of it too. It is a great opportunity now for creatives to put themselves in a position to learn the business, to be in a position where you can produce your own material or understand how to go about attaching talent to a project and everything like that. Like, one of the other things I'm doing right now is, I have a TV pilot that we have attached a producer from Ballers and Bullock Empire. We've attached an actor to it that I can't name right now for obvious reasons, because of contracts and everything like that. We are out to actors and showrunners who have actively said, now's the time. You know what I mean? So you would think like, shit, nothing's happening. And, this is the worst time to be playing. This is the best time to be trying to package something. So if you don't understand how to package something, you don't understand anything you don't know that you ever said to yourself, like, man, I'd love to learn how to do that, or that's a black hole for me. I don't understand how to do that. I don't understand how film financing works. I don't understand how producing works. Now's the time to go learn it. Now's the time to go take those classes, dig deep into it, dive deep into it. I think those are the two things I'm seeing right now. People are, the executives and the professionals are looking for the material, and the people that are creating the material either got their head down and they're doing it. I'll tell you another thing a lot of writers are doing, which I think is great. A lot of writers are taking older scripts out of their drawers and modifying them for today's market. Like, they're saying, okay, how do I make this? It's still a great story, but how do I make it relevant for what's going on right now, for the needs of right now? But I mean, I'll tell you, last night I was on the phone with a producer friend of mine, and when we got done, he said, I'm going to send you over the mandates for every studio and for every streamer and tell what they're looking for right now. It's fascinating. I mean, everybody is looking for, and they're looking for existing content too. Like, this is also a good time if you were a filmmaker that maybe just got done with the festival circuit. Whether it's if it's a feature, now's a really good time to maybe be banging up sales agents and distributors again, or if you're still eligible for certain things, or maybe seeing if there's a way that you can get it onto a platform. If you're a short filmmaker, to try to be getting in front of managers and agents. Everybody's looking for talent right now. They're looking for talent and they're looking for content.
But so let me ask you a question though. Right now, the economics, everyone seems to be playing this as business as usual. Like, everything you just said is like, everyone's looking for content. Yeah. There's going to be this or that. But the financials, right now, everyone's still probably, buying and using off of whatever's stored, because there is no money arguably coming in, depending on who you're talking to. Yeah, Netflix has their monthly, but Netflix just had to pull $1 billion in financing to start buying new content, because they're Netflix and they have to be in debt. That's part of their rules. But like, Disney just laid off 100,000 or furloughed 100,000 employees and stuff. The studios are hurting. Maybe some of the streaming platforms are doing a bit better, but they're still, whatever is happening right now could be off of whatever they have saved or what they believe is going to happen in the next few weeks. But if this goes through the path of where a lot of people are saying, which is it's going to loosen up in the summer a little bit and then it's going to come back with a vengeance in the fall, that pretty much kills the theatrical release schedule for the rest of this year. Can Sony handle not releasing Bond this year? Like, can they financially handle it as a company? Can Disney handle not releasing 2 Marvel movies, a Pixar like, can they? I feel Disney could because they're diverse enough. But even then, their parks are shut down. Their major revenue streams are shut down. So how is this financially and economically going to make sense? I know everyone's getting, hey, we need content. Got it. But money has to come from somewhere.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be different for everybody. Netflix took that $1 billion. I don't know if it's going to be all content related or if they're positioning themselves to, acquire some things. I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if, some of these people that are a little cash rich or have access to cash don't start snatching up companies, and the world, the streaming world or, the studio world or whatever looks a lot different. The landscape looks a lot different, 6 to 12 months from now. What we're seeing is on the television side, for example, almost every single premium station network is booking for 2021. They're booking as if this is going to happen, even if it's going to happen, even if they have that content as new content in the second half of 2021 and it's being filmed in the first half of 2021. They are going forward. So I can tell you that to a network, that is happening. I've seen the mandates. I've seen it all. What we're also seeing happening is a lot of the streamers, and again, a lot of the networks are looking for low budget reality, unscripted, that people can film in their homes. That's crazy. Comedy Central, one of their mandates right now is to do more comedy sort of reality from people's homes. Where they
quarantine comedy.
Okay, so it's cheap, obviously, to produce. Doesn't take a lot. People can edit it. Their post-production people can do it in their homes and everything like that. So they will find a way to get content. I think, and fresh content. They'll find a way. I think the bigger question is, when you bring up Sony and Bond and everything like that, that is sort of a different kind of thing. You still have Sony Television. You still have it.
It's been holding Sony up. It's been holding up Sony for the last decade.
Yeah, but again, this is where I think the creativity is going to come in. And again, I think this is where we kind of came in on this conversation is sort of the longer it goes, the more innovative they're going to have to be. But I do think that you are going to have some casualties of this that are either going to have to make really, really, sweetheart kind of deals to save themselves, or are going to find themselves being acquired for, I wouldn't say pennies on the dollar, but certainly not $1 on the dollar. You know what I mean?
Well, the 3 big boys that are sitting on the sidelines just waiting at any moment to come in and just buy somebody or acquire: Google, Facebook, Apple.
They're watching.
And they have so much cash that they could easily come in, buy a Sony, buy a Lionsgate, buy an MGM, buy a Paramount all day. I mean, there was rumors that Disney was thinking Apple was thinking of buying Disney. I don't think that would ever happen, not purely because it's just too big. That would be just too large of a company. I don't think it would pass the FCC to do it. But could they buy Sony? Absolutely. In their sleep. And could they buy Lionsgate and that library? If they really want to go, because right now, like I checked out Apple TV Plus, and because it had amazing stories, so I wanted to go back to my childhood. So I watched a couple of amazing stories. So I got their free thing, and I looked around. I'm like, they got nothing. They got nothing. They got like 5 shows, 7 shows. I was like, they have nothing. So they seem to be dipping their toe into it, and they're very nicely produced shows. Don't get me wrong, but they seem to be dipping their toe, because if Apple really wanted to come out, they could come out They could put $20 billion down in content next year and not even blink.
Yeah, I think the other one you got to keep an eye on, obviously, is Amazon.
Oh yeah, yeah. Of course.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they start making some moves. If you have some movie theater casualties, I wouldn't be shocked to see that be a move that they might make, or Amazon snatches up some theaters. I mean, there's so many different ways this can go.
Yeah.
I mean, for the people that are listening right now who are working more in the indie level and trying, maybe working in TV and everything like that, I do think that now is the time to really be, if you're not motivated right now, and I understand, listen, well, we have this conversation on Stage 32 all the time when we do a lot of our free webinars and stuff like that. We'll do Q&As, and we get asked often, like, how do you keep yourself motivated? How do you keep yourself, like, it's very tough for me and everything like that. And I get it. I get it that it is tough for some people. But what I would say to you is, if you could dig deep and understand that right now, again, so many, you have a captive audience, and they want to read and they want to look at films. I mean, what we're doing with Stage 32 screenings, the response to that from executives. We launched Stage 32 screenings. I know we'll talk about it, but if we launched this initiative, I mean, obviously it was predicated on, and it was built on the entire idea of the fact that these live screenings get canceled. But if we had put this out 3 months ago and went to our executive list and even Vintages, which we could talk about, the partner, one of our education partners, and went to their list of thousands. People are at work. They don't have time. And they're like, yeah, all right, we'll check it when we can check it. And yeah, that's cool. And yeah, oh, you got some features. Oh yeah, great. Okay. Now it's like, we're like, we can't approve these people quick enough. It's like, they're like, I sent in an application 2 hours ago. Can I get on? Can I get on? It's like, holy shit. I mean, and that's it. They're home and they have nothing to do, but they have a job to do too. Keep in mind that there's still, even for all the layoffs and everything like that, there are still development execs and managers and agents and everything like that work for agencies or work for management companies or work for production companies or work for the studios, that their job is still to find content. And their job is still to get out there and take meetings and Zoom meetings and find people. So even before, for example, we put screenings online, before we launched the goddamn thing, like probably 50 sales agents and distributors came to us and said, can we get a private screening first? And can we look at it first? And we were like, fuck no. Level playing field. But I mean, it was amazing because they're like, they're like, we need. It's just crazy.
So let's talk a little bit about the whole South by Southwest thing. South by Southwest was one of the first big casualties of Corona because of the timing. And the festival went down. I knew a bunch of filmmakers that were going to be on, and and you work all your life to be a part of a Sundance, a South by, a Tribeca, or a Cannes, Toronto, one of these big festivals, and then it's canceled. So now all you have is the laurel of officially selected, and maybe they're going to run the awards and stuff. So you still, but it doesn't have the same oomph to it because you don't have the screening, you don't get the experience, and also the eyeballs that normally would see it at a festival like that possibly could either buy the film or give you opportunities are now gone. I don't foresee any major festival happening anywhere in the world, and that includes Sundance next year. I don't think by then we're going to be, if they do pull Sundance off, it'll probably be the best year to go because there'll be nobody there. You'll probably be able to get tickets to anything and everything you want at Park City. But you guys decided to jump on board to help these filmmakers out. And I know South by connected with Amazon to try to do like a virtual film festival, which seems to have completely blown up in everyone's face because I heard of what Amazon was trying to pay filmmakers to put their thing up on Amazon. So for everyone listening, to my understanding, and please correct me, Amazon and South by said, hey, if you got accepted to South by, we'll buy the rights for the screening on our platform, and we'll call it the South by Southwest screening, Amazon screening series. And we'll put it up online and people can watch it and things like that. And Amazon offered everybody $4,000 for the screening rights for the festival, which then basically kills major distribution. It's going to get bootlegged. There's just absolutely no reason. Absolutely, the second it goes online streaming, it's going to get picked up. So you basically are throwing your movie away if you do that. Basically, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So I think how many people? Like two, I think it was 2, 3 signed up.
No, I think over 30 did it, but it's interesting.
Why?
I mean, can I back up and give the
Yeah.
history of it?
Yeah.
Because it's really interesting, and it's fascinating to be in the middle of what this like kind of hurricane of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So just to give you sort of the timeline. So South by cancels the live screenings. And at that point there was no plans to put it online or anything. It was the day it happened. The day it happened, one of our employees, her name is Taylor Baker. She's our head of content. She lives in Austin, but she was in our offices in LA. And she came in and she's like, God, this is going to be so devastating for the economy. It's going to be devastating for the filmmakers and yada, yada, yada. That night I'm at dinner with a buddy of mine. And I said, it'd be really interesting if, we could bring those films onto Stage 32 because we have the executives. We have almost 1,000 of them, and a lot of them are sales agents and distributors, right? But also for short filmmakers, I was like, because that's something that's near and dear to my heart is the short filmmaker. For the short filmmaker, I'm like, we have all the managers and the agents they're looking to get to, if they're looking for representation, or if they're looking to do this as proof of concept for something bigger, we have access to the financiers and producers that they would need to get on, to help them back their vision. So that's how Stage 32 Screenings was kind of born. We said, all right, let's put this online. Let's do this. We went to our executives, said, this be something interesting. They're like, hell yeah. And we started building the platform. While this was going on, a lot of these other festivals were being canceled. And we were getting hit up by a ton of festival directors because we got we got press. We launched this, we announced it, and we got some press and Deadline and Variety and the Hollywood Reporter. So we started getting a ton of inquiries from, again, sales agents, distributors saying, how do we get on board? And then a ton of festival directors saying, either we're going to have to cancel our live screenings too, or we have a festival coming up that we haven't made selections for. And, we'd like to be involved, even though we're probably going to have to cancel. But if we don't make selections, how can we be involved? So we had two different things to deal with. We were like, okay, let's talk to the festivals that had screenings, see which ones we want to bring in, because we wanted to do this in stages. And since then, now we've brought in Tribeca, the Telluride Mountain Film Festival, which is the biggest one of the oldest documentary film festivals in the country. It's been 44 years. And we brought in BFI London Flair, which is an LGBTQ festival in London, and we brought in Vail. So now we have 5 festivals bringing in films. We're up over 100, I think it's 120 films that have submitted, which is fantastic. And we officially launched like 2 days ago, and 2 of the films are already off the board in 2 features from South by are off the board in conversations for distribution, and 2 others have serious heat on them right now and probably going to come off the board later today. But also for our short filmmakers, there's already been like 30 meetings set up with managers and agents and producers. So all good. That was our intention. Our intention wasn't so much, we weren't saying we wanted to put an online festival. And this is all going to tie into everything you're asking, because I think it's very, very important for the filmmaker. And I know you're a huge advocate of all this and protecting the filmmakers' rights and everything. What we were saying is, okay, we're going to give you 2 options. You could either screen publicly to our network of 600,000 members, which is our entire member base, right? And all these executives that we talked about, and anybody else that you'd like to invite, and anybody else that comes in from the press. Or you can choose to screen privately. And if you choose the private option, you are only screening to those executives. So worries about eligibility and all this other stuff, and
gone.
That's gone, right? So in that particular instance, it's like, why wouldn't I want to get, and my way of looking at it, and I want to kind of shift just a little bit, is that I am a producer and a writer, but let's talk about producing. I have taken films that have gone to, I've been involved with films that have gone to Sundance, been involved with films that have gone to Cannes. I was involved with a film that went to Sundance that had a 3:00 spot at the Eccles and was packed and got a standing ovation, and 10 months later was playing in a theater in New York and a theater in LA, and all the money was lost on it, even after the standing ovation, because a lot of people got in the way and a lot of middlemen, and it was a lot of shit, and it was horrible. And to be honest with you, going to a prestigious festival like that with that kind of film and having that kind of euphoria, and then having that euphoria kind of completely taken away, and realizing that we just played to that audience, but now we're kind of done. Now it's in the hands of whoever, it's out in the ether, and whoever comes to us, right? So my whole thing was, when we talk about the festival experience, like as you mentioned earlier, what really is that festival experience for a lot of people? I mean, 99.9% of the films that go to festivals have no afterlife, really, if you think about it, because they go to festivals that don't have sales agents and distributors and people, decision makers there, right? So they get the laurels, they're all excited, and it's all. But then, what do they end up with? They end up with a lot of bills. They end up with, a lot of travel costs and everything like that. And now they're scrambling because they don't have the connection. So the other reason why I thought this was important to tent this up was not only to say for these filmmakers that spent years on this thing, for all the connections to these films, all the people that acted on it, were on the crew, and that invested their time in it, let's give them the platform. But more importantly, I don't care about, it doesn't matter. It's not about playing it to the masses. It's about playing it to people that can make a difference in their careers. Mm-hmm. So that's where screenings came from. Now,
that makes sense.
Yeah. So now after screenings was launched, then the Amazon thing was announced, and that was only South by. And so the other festivals that we're dealing with had no other home, really. And my understanding is, I think it's the $4,000, and I think it's a 10-day window or a 14-day window. I'm not even sure. I think it's only up for like 10 or 14 days. But again, I don't know who this, and I'm not going to speak for them, and I'm not going to,
But they're screening publicly. But they're screening publicly for Prime.
But they are screening publicly to Prime. So as you said, that kind of
you're done. And I don't want to be the bearer of bad news here, but if you do that, you are going to get look. My movie was our movie was bootlegged within 4 hours of its release.
Yeah,
it was already bootlegged. It was gone. It was gone out of our control. And that was our little film, let alone a South by Southwest film on Amazon, no less. So all those films are going to get bootlegged. And I feel really bad about it because then that pretty much kills their distribution options. Yeah. It completely. Or traditional.
And I don't know if they know, again, I don't know if people understand. I don't know if all the filmmakers understand that. I don't know. But I mean, we make it very clear with what we're doing that this is, if you want to choose privately, you're going in front of these people.
It makes sense.
It's going to protect your eligibility.
Absolutely.
And, so what we've heard, I mean, I would say it's probably 3 or 4 filmmakers that came to us and said, we want to screen with you over Amazon for the exact reasons that we're talking about. They didn't want to expose, you know what I mean?
Right.
But, quite a few films I believe did. And, that's a choice that they made.
It's fine. And, I wish them the best.
So
be it. Yeah.
So be it. But again, I don't know if that helps them. I don't.
Well, nobody knows. But nobody knows because nobody knows what the F's going on. Like, this is completely uncharted territory. No one's ever, a major film festival has never canceled all their physical screenings and partnered with Amazon to put it up. Nobody knows what that means. Nobody knows how that's going to affect it.
But for the filmmakers, I was saying, like, you just said it. I mean, if you're losing, I know that if you had that option with your film, and you were in, that was the first festival you had made or whatever, I think that you would have kept your powder dry and you would have looked to, figure out, I know you would have. And I think a lot of filmmakers would. It's, look, we're in a very, very unique position, given the fact that we have all these execs. Now, the other thing that we did was we partnered with Vintage House. And if you're not familiar with Vintage, I know you are. But, Vintage is the global leader in accounts management for films. So they're the people that basically make sure your books are right, that everybody's getting paid who's supposed to get paid, that there's no shady shit going on, that if you're a screenwriter and you're supposed to get back-end points and the movie makes $10 gajillion, that they don't come in with fuzzy math. They're those people. So
I don't understand any of that stuff. Did that happen? Does that happen in our business? No.
Very rarely.
Rarely, right?
Very rarely. So anyway, they're the leaders in that, and they have. We've been education partners with them for a long time. They teach exclusively for Stage 32, and they came to us and said, "Hey, we want to be involved in this." So they're inviting their entire roster of all of these people I was saying, the sales agents, distributors, the managers, the agents, the entertainment lawyers, the financiers, the producers, the development executives, and it's literally thousands. It's going to be so. We have already sent out probably 3,000, a little over 3,000 invites. We're expecting to send out at least 5,000 more by the time we're done. And if I said to you, even if half of them accept, if I said to you, you know what, would you like to play in front of 4,000, professionals and executives at one time, and not, by the way, not at one time. That's the other thing that drives me nuts is, a lot of these, God, I'm probably gonna get shot for a lot of this, but a lot of these festivals are putting their films, their filmmakers' films online, but they're doing it in a festival style to basically
screening at 6 o'clock,
screening at 10 o'clock.
That's
not
not the
like,
world. That's not the world we live in, guys. That's not the world we
not
live
in the
in.
world we live in. So
Make sure. Be kind. Rewind. Be kind. Rewind. Be
That's,
kind.
that's, that's right. So what we're saying is all these films they're online. They're there.
Yeah.
They're there privately. You log in, you get to watch them. We're not taking them down. We're not saying you got to watch it between 8 and 10 and then we're taking them down. They're there. And the way it works, by the way, is if one of the executives wants to get in touch with the filmmaker or the producers, they just hit a button and that sends a message to us. We go to the filmmaker and say, this is the interest you're getting. Do you want us to facilitate a meeting? If they say yes, we connect them. And like I said, now it's about 48 hours. We already have 4 films that have major interest. So it's cool. It's very rewarding. And by the way, it's free to the filmmakers.
Awesome.
So I will just say really quickly, if you know anybody that had a film in Vale, Tribeca up by the BFI London LGBTQ or Mountain Film, Telluride Mountain Film, please do send them our way. If you have a festival that wants to be involved in this, go to support. Screenings at stage32.com. You can send us an email. And if you want to look at all this, it's just stage32.com/screenings, plural. And the other thing that we're doing, Alex, which I think is cool, is for the festivals that have come to us that, again, did not choose their films, okay, but are going to have to cancel their festival. We have been providing them for their alumni and the filmmakers who submitted free education. So we're trying to do whatever we can for everybody. But it's a troubling time. I could tell you I'm not going to name the festival, but there is a film festival that has been around for over 30 years. Actually, it's longer. It's probably about 40 years. That has a staff of 35 people. And I've known 3 of them personally for a very, very long period of time. They've laid off just about everybody. And who knows if it's going to, so that's the other part of this too. Who knows how many of these festivals are going to survive? I mean, if you're a filmmaker right now, are you allotting, I don't know, you tell me. Let me ask you this question. If you had On the Corner of Ego and Desire ready right now, like you just got done, would you be outlaying the money to festivals?
Absolutely
right now?
not. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
If I had my film right now and I literally just finished the edit, and you've seen it, and everyone's watched it. We're all like, we had our little private screening. I don't know if we could have that right now, but let's say for argument's sake, we had our private screening. I would be focusing on a self-distribution digital release myself. But mind you, again, the budget of our film was much more humble than $200,000-$300,000. So now, when you're talking about a $250,000, $500,000, $1 million film, and all the infrastructure and all the blueprints that we've been working out, like the path that has been laid out since the beginning of time in our industry, is now shut down. And all alternate ways I'd normally go, like, okay, I'm not going to go directly to distribute. I'm going to go down the film festival route. Well, the film festival route is shut down pretty much. So now you don't have an option to go down that route. And then the distributors are becoming much more predatory. And we could talk about all the stuff I've been hearing about distributors and aggregators as well. So that's situated is weird. And now you're challenged to try to self-distribute without all the stuff that I've been preaching with Filmtrepreneur about building that audience, creating those product lines, creating an ecosystem, providing value. That all takes time. And if you just have a fresh movie and you're like, oh, I better start finding an audience, you're way too late. Unless you're going to wait a year to release this thing. It's way too late for that. So in many ways, unfortunately, the only option left is a predatory distribution deal. Or if you're lucky enough, depending on the size of your film, you can go with a couple of the good distributors. There's good predatory and there's bad predatory. There's it's gray. No, if you're lucky enough to find, one of the few really honest distributors, and there are some out there, or you get picked up by one of the big boys and get a nice MG. That's another route to go, but that's a lottery ticket. And that other one, honestly, is a lottery ticket. So then basically all they're like, well, I'll put it up on Amazon myself. Like that's the options. So it's depressing. And I've been yelling about this, this, for a long time, trying to figure out a new system. But this scenario, it was tough. It was nearly impossible to be a profitable independent film prior to Corona. It was like the percentage, percentage is very, very nil that you can make your money back, break even, or be profitable in that current marketplace. And now we're talking about fractions of a fraction because nobody knows what's happening. Nobody knows where we're going.
And it's interesting because, again, I'd love to get your opinion on this. Being a filmmaker and a producer yourself, it's, for me, I agree with you. I think that right now, if you're putting money into film festivals that may be playing in a few months, that maybe,
2 years.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. But and this plays into your 2 years, and you're going to answer. I think you're going to answer. I think I know now how you're going to answer now. But the thing we're hearing from producers, okay, and from filmmakers, because we've talked about the expansion of screenings, we've talked to a lot of people, and what we will hear occasionally is, well, you know what, this is going to be over in a few months, so I'm going to just keep my film in pocket, in the can,
on the shelf,
on the shelf, do my networking, build up some hype for it and all this other stuff, and then when everything comes back, I'm going to start submitting to festivals. Now, my argument with that is twofold. One is, I'm a strike while the iron is hot kind of guy. And I'm also, the type of guy that I don't like anything passive. Okay. That's the first thing. I think you adapt to your environment, right? You adapt to your environment, you find the opportunities, and you find where people aren't going, and you go. Okay. That's the first thing. But the second thing is that, I'm done. Okay. I thought I was going to lose you. My computer, my cord wasn't plugged in. But the second thing is, I think the other part of this is that people don't realize that even though we're not filming right now,
right,
post-production on completed films
are still going.
It's absolutely happening.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to release that film, or when you do put that thing into the marketplace, it might be a little stale in comparison to other stuff that's out there already, or it might have, especially if it's gotten into another festival or whatever. So there's other thing about festivals saying well, you're still eligible, and you're still there's that other thing that's going on right now.
Eligible? Who cares?
Yeah. The thing I say to you is, how do they have the power? The power's in the hand of the filmmaker. The power's in the hand.
With the eligible.
It's nuts.
No,
in your hands. That's the thing. I think you would agree, man. I think that filmmakers. Look. It's the same thing with screenwriters, right? What does every screenwriter want? They want a manager. They want a manager. They want a manager. They don't realize they get a manager, and it might be the wrong manager, or it might be a manager that's not going to go to war for you. And then you realize that, well, shit, I'm worse off than I was before, right? You're a filmmaker. You're like, oh, I just want to play in a festival. I just want to play in a festival. I just want to play in a festival. You play in a festival, and, if things don't quite happen, and, you're not getting your investors back, you're not getting everybody else back, nobody wants to go into battle with you again, right? The thing is that as creatives, a lot of creatives, and I know you'll agree with this because I know we've had this conversation before, a lot of creatives surrender their power.
Oh, of course.
So when I sit there and I hear certain festivals going well, you can screen and you'll still be eligible. Wait a second. You don't have a festival without the filmmakers, okay? The filmmakers have the power, and that's, you want to talk about things that are changing right now, or you want to talk about things that I think is going to change right now, is I think a lot of filmmakers and a lot of producers are going to recognize that the power is not only in their hands, but with the options that they thought they had are much more plentiful than they were before.
Can I be honest? I want to give a little bit of raw honesty out here right now. This is going to be brutal honesty.
Was this not raw enough?
No. This was PG-13. I'm gonna get a little harder now.
Oh, good.
The reality is that most independent filmmakers and or producers have no clue how to recoup their money. No clue how to generate revenue with the film that they just hustled to get made. All they ever focus on is trying to get the budget, package the deal, get the cast, get the director, get the screenplay. That is what is taught. But nobody ever wants to know about the back end and how to make money with their films. And that was and they all had the idea of like, well, we'll go down a festival circuit. Oh, like before we make a joke about this. We even make a joke about this in the movie, which is like, oh yeah, well, I'll submit to Sundance, and that's my distribution plan. That plan is now gone. So even that ridiculous plan is completely out the window. So now I feel that the desperation is going to just get ramped up with all these films that are in the can right now. They're waiting, and they're going to do any schlock, any snake oil salesman that comes along goes, oh, go here. The film festival got this route, or no, go over here. I'll distribute your film for you, or this. So I feel that that's going to get even more ramped up. It was at a frenzy rate before Corona. Now I can't even comprehend what's going to happen. Instead of like a pit of piranha, it's like a pit of of great whites in the same numbers as piranhas before. It's going to be absolutely brutal. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give as much information as I can out there to help filmmakers. And I'm getting emails, dude, daily, like, what do I do? Where do I go? How do I do this? And I honestly, sometimes I literally send the emoji like, tell me what your situation is. Oh, it's $1 million. It's a $1.5 million movie. It's got this star and this star in it. I'm like, okay, try this. Maybe go down this distribution route. Oh, we're thinking of self-distributing. I'm like, you can't. You can't. Yeah. You're like, oh, we need to get on iTunes. No, you don't, because nobody's making money on iTunes. Because transactional is pretty much a dead door, especially for independent film. Do you think anyone's renting the next Dolph Lundgren movie? Like seriously, I love Dolph. I mean, no offense, but like, do you see people other than maybe guys in my age range that are still super fans of Dolph renting on iTunes, paying $5.99 for his latest movie, or John Claude's or Steven Seagal's latest movie? No, if you watch them, they'll watch it on streaming for free. So you don't need to go to TVOD. Where you need to go is AVOD, because that's the only place there's any money right now. Anyway, and that's a whole other conversation. But back to what we were talking about. That is where.
Well, can I comment on that? First of all, there was nothing R-rated about that, so I'm very disappointed.
I try.
Very disappointed. I was all amped up because I know it's very rare that you.
Oh, you want me to throw some curse words out, sir? I can if you like.
Yeah, I would like you to combine some creative curse words. A couple of things about that. One, it's very, very true. If you're new to this show, if you're new to Alex and everything like that, first of all, you need to be listening to his pod. You need to go to the back episodes because he covers the gamut. Okay, and there's so much great information there, so many good things that you can learn, and it ties back to what we were talking about earlier. There are three things. If you are not motivated right now, there are three things that you could be doing that I guarantee you will make you get to the third one is the most important, which is the creating we talked about earlier. But here are the two things that you could be doing that will get you to the third one. The first one is relationship building and networking. The cool thing, one of the things that we've seen, I think it's for us, in a tragic time, I guess it's a great time to be on a social network platform because our traffic is through the roof.
I'm sure.
So if you're not on Stage 32, if you're not on Stage32.com right now, you're just wasting time. The amount of interactions, the amount of requests, the amount of business being done, it's off the charts. So it's great. So you have no excuse not to be out there meeting, if this is your interest or your need, sales agents and distributors. Or if you're a short filmmaker, getting in front of managers and agents, or if you're a feature filmmaker, okay? The second thing is exactly what you just talked about, education. If you're not listening to this podcast, if you're not taking education, if you're not learning, like, for example, if you're actually a filmmaker right now that had a film in one of these canceled film festivals, and you're like, I don't know what to do, and you're not taking, and I'm going to pimp my own stuff, Stage 32 classes on distribution, on sales agent, how to find a sales agent, how to vet a sales agent, all these different things. If you're not doing it, it's on you. And it's the old, since there's this Michael Jordan thing, that's this 10-part Michael Jordan thing, I'll use the Michael Jordan analogy. Yeah. But if you're not doing it, somebody else is. Like, we talked about this on, I think the last time we talked, maybe we talked about it off the air, but when people say to me, like, how do you get motivated every day? And you're the same way, man. Like, you get up every day and you're at it, right? I'm up every day, I'm at it. Why? Well, part of it, yeah, that's in our blood. We love that. We love
Mm-hmm.
getting, we love, being involved and we love
The
tackling.
hustle, the
We
hustles.
love the hustle. We love the hustle, right? But the second thing is that, they asked Michael Jordan when he was at peak of his powers, why are you in the gym every day at 6:30 in the morning shooting 1,000 free throws? And he said, if I'm not, somebody else is. And by the way, they're all gunning for me. Live your life that way a little bit. Live your life knowing that your film is one of thousands that got canceled, at film festival. Live your life that your short film is one of, I don't even know how many that got produced last year or whatever, and that is looking for representation. And then put yourself in the best position, goal, need, make a meet, okay? And you will get to part 3, which is the idea that you really should be creating right now and putting yourself in the best position for when this is all over.
Yeah, and I'll pimp my own stuff out as well. Indie Film Hustle TV. Indie Film Hustle TV. I've seen a big surge of people watching, and I see how many people in the back end have been watching, members and stuff. People are starting to figure it out that they need to educate themselves. Our book sales have gone up, because people are starting to buy our books and buy our audiobooks and things like that, because people are like, oh, wait a minute, I'm sitting around. Yes, I do need to watch Tiger King. And by the way, you do. But when I'm done with Tiger King, because that's only 7 hours of your life, including the new bonus episode, you should be educating yourself and preparing. And I've been saying that for weeks now. I'm like, binge a bit, but you've got to educate yourself. You should be right now in the pit of in that training pit with Rocky in Rocky 3 when Apollo takes him back down to train to go beat up Mr. T. That's where you need to be. You need your own training montage in whatever craft part of this industry you're trying to learn about. That's what you should be doing right now. I'm doing it right now with myself, with all the stuff that I've been doing with my company and what I'm doing. You're out there hustling, trying to provide value to filmmakers and create new opportunities that didn't exist because, as weird as it sounds, like, I don't know who it was. I think it was JP Morgan, which was like, you buy when there's blood in the water. And I'm not saying that in a morbid sense, but right now there's so much confusion and so much just nobody knows what's going on. This is an opportunity to come up with a new solution, to figure out a new way of doing things. And I've been saying Rome is burning now for a while. Our industry, I feel that the walls are starting to crack down around us, and this is just really put it into hyperdrive. And when this all comes crashing down in one way, shape, or form, whatever comes out of those ashes will be the new way of doing it. And it's happened multiple times in our industry. But like I was saying, I think I said this on a podcast, but like, I feel personally, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this, but I feel our whole entire industry has been held up by a bubble, and that bubble happens to be international sales and international theatrical sales and just an international world. Because before, if you remember, it was 70-30 U.S. market versus 30% foreign market. I remember those days when the U.S. was everything. And now it's completely turned on its head, where now we're 30% of the box office and the rest of the world 70%. But what happens when the rest of the world shuts down? What happens when this whole world starts changing? How is our industry going to be able to handle that? So, and then the bubble of the streaming bubble, I feel there's a streaming bubble. I do think there's still somewhat of a gold rush, but people are buying a lot of content on debt. It's debt-based buying, like Netflix is the king of that. So they're buying based on future earning potential. But at a certain point, you're gonna run out of subscribers. Like you're gonna hit a threshold of like there's only so many people in the U.S., let's say, who are gonna subscribe to Netflix. And I think Netflix is starting to feel. That's why Netflix has been so aggressive going after the world, because they're like, we kind of are hitting the top market here in the U.S. So we need to go to India. We need to go to try to get China. So at a certain point, and I'm going a little bit on a tangent here, but bear with me. Disney Plus right now has 50.
I got plenty of coffee. Take your time.
If Disney Plus just hit 50 million subscribers, which is insane how fast they were able to do that. But how many more subscribers do they have to really pick up in the U.S.? Arguably 150 total, maybe 175 total, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little less. At a certain point, they're going to hit a crucial threshold. Then if there's no theatrical, which I wanted to talk to you about theatrical and where you think theatrical is going to go. But let's say the theatrical component has gone away or it's just dropped. Instead of $1 billion, you're making $500 million. Economically, can these studios make tentpole $200 million, $250 million plus tentpole films? Does it make sense economically anymore? Is it enough to make a $200 million movie for a streaming service? Because the only reason Marty got $200 million for Irishman is because they want subscribers, not to maintain the subscribers that they got. Because Tiger King did that just fine. It was a lot cheaper than Irishman. So I threw a lot of questions out at you. I just love to hear what you think.
Yeah.
I was all over the place.
I feel like I got punched in the face like 5 times.
Discuss.
I like to start with the fact that I'm a little insulted as an Italian by the Rome is burning. It could have been any other place, but
Okay, name another saying that's equivalent.
Well, I mean, listen, it's 2020. We're offended by everything.
That's true. I'm offended that you're offended.
That's a lot. That's usually my default position.
Yes.
I think there is a lot to unpack there. I think that the big thing about what the theatrical experience looks like, I think that is definitely one of those situations where the longer it goes, the more I think it's going to change. Because I do think that, you said earlier, what happens to Sony if they're unable to release Bond this year, if we're not able to go back to theaters. Well, then I think that Sony, I'm sure within the walls of Sony, they have discussed that. They've discussed, okay, what do we do? How do we recoup? How do we do it? Okay. There has to be contingency plans. There just has to be, because there are way too many unknowns with the virus, like we said earlier, that we don't know if there's going to be a second wave. We have no idea. We have no idea. I mean, we could all be back out and, with whatever social distancing we're going to be doing in movie theaters, and then we could have this second wave and they could shut everything down 3 days after Bond opens. So then what do they do? You know what I mean? Nobody knows, right? So I don't know how that shakes out. I think that one of the things I said earlier, I think will happen is, AMC filing for bankruptcy and a lot of these other theaters that probably weren't even in as good a position as they were financially are going to go out. And does that mean, again, that Amazon comes in and swipes them up, or somebody else comes in and swipes them up? And then what do they do with it? How does that ecosystem change? Right now, as we know, the studios own 90% of the screens in America. So does that change in any way? I think the idea, you talk about things that accelerate, obviously we had the screening room thing last year where it was going to be, I think that was the name of it, where it's going to be $50 to watch, a first run, day and date kind of thing.
$20, yeah.
The $20, whatever the hell.
No, now it's $20. It was $50. Yeah, it was going to be 50.
So now, where does that land? I mean, what does that look like? What does that look like for the studios as far as how do we recoup this money? And is that tied into something else? Like, is there something, for example, where if you are a Disney Plus member, that you get X, Y, and Z as well, and that's how they bring more revenue in to offset the theatrical? You don't know. But again, the further this goes out, I mean, those are two ideas that came off the top of my head, and I'm not sitting in virtual boardrooms, Zoom boardrooms, talking about this shit. But you could see that there is going to be one leader, and it probably will be, a Disney, that's going to come out and just say, this is what the new normal looks like for us, theatrical wise.
And everybody will follow. Everybody will follow. Now, look, you and I are different from the perspective of even the films that we like a lot of the same films, but you do like the superhero stuff, and you like, the. But that's Hollywood basically right now.
Totally fine, but I'm saying, like, so for you, going to a theater to see that's an experience. For me, I just don't go, right? Mm-hmm. But for me, I'm sort of an old school guy. Like, I like to see the awards type movies. Like, I want to see Parasite in the theater. Like, I do. I don't want to see it on my screen. It's fine if I have to. But even when I get screeners, at the holiday, towards the holidays, like, I'll have the screener at home and I'll be like,
I'll go to a screening. Oh yeah.
Let's grab a few people and go watch it, So, and I know there are some people, but I know I'm in the minority that way. Now you have a lot of people that are being trained to say, it's okay to be home. you know what? It's okay to order from our favorite restaurant as opposed to taking a shower, getting dressed. You
Oh
know
yeah.
what? It's not so bad, right? So again, the longer it goes, the more that becomes, as we like to
The
say
new
today,
norm.
the new normal, right? And so I don't know. I don't know how that shakes out. I do think that you're 100% right. I mean, obviously, there are billions upon billions of dollars on the line here. And how that part of it's going to shake out. I think what's going to be more interesting in a lot of ways is how the independent film world is going to shake out. Because again, if these festivals are not happening and these buyers are not, and keeping in mind, okay, and I know this is another thing that drives me nuts. I know it drives you nuts. Keeping in mind that a lot of these festivals, I mean, and I won't, but a lot of the bigger ones have become, from a business standpoint, a little bit kind of comical anyway, because a lot of the films that were screening at them had deals in place before they get there.
Yeah,
So they're not
it's
even
marketing push. It's a marketing
it's a
play.
marketing play, right? So, you know, that alone makes you say, okay, if these films are getting deals before they screen, do we really even need to screen? Do we really even need, I mean, obviously if you're a sales agent or a distributor, do I need to get on a plane to go to a festival where 65 or 70% of the films have already been scooped up and the other 30% are probably going to, if I put a $2 million bid in, Amazon's going to come in and put 15 million on the table. And where the hell am I,
So
so that's another equation.
So I want to just back up real quick on the movie theater experience real quick. You and I raised with movie theaters. There's a whole generation that was raised on their iPhones, so they don't really understand. They've been to movies, but it's not the same emotional that we have. I love movie theaters. I think there'll always be a place for the community getting together. People want to get out of the house. People want to do. I get it, and there will always be some version of that. Like drive-ins are becoming a thing now again, all of a sudden.
Which is great.
Yeah, IMAX is, you can't compete with IMAX. You can't compete watching Dark Knight or watching in Inception in IMAX. Like that's something you can't do at home with the best situation you have. There's two things I want to say. One, for me, I'm a family man, so I've got my wife and I got my kids.
Sure.
So going to movie theater on a Friday or Saturday night, which I never do. If I go at all, it'd be early morning. But let's say I want to go out on a date with my wife. That means that I got to get a babysitter. We need to, go when we go out there, tickets plus food. When the whole night's said and done, it's about 100 bones, 125 bones when it's all said and done for a movie. So we've gone less and less. I don't even remember the last time my wife and I both just went. We generally just go see kids movies now if we ever go at all. And even then we're still spending $50-$60. And I'm a popcorn sneaker inner kind of guy.
Come on.
I can't. No, it's not because I don't want to pay for it. It's because I worked in a movie theater. Do you know what kind of butter they use? Oh my God, it's horrible. It's horrible. Anyway.
Well, we know. You got to go for the real butter.
Yeah. You want to know? I remember pulling out the real butter from this tub that I had to pour in at the beginning of the day, and then at the end of the day, once it melted, you would pour it back in, and it just gets recycled again and again. So ever since that day, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to bring my organic air puffed popcorn in, sir. But anyway,
have they tried using that stuff to try to cure COVID?
You know what? It's not that far. That and Hennessy. That with Hennessy, I think you'll be fine.
You would do it.
But I feel that the experiment of the 1999, I'm calling it premium TVOD. It's called I'm calling it premium TVOD because it's a higher than normal TVOD. So
it's your show. Do whatever you want.
I'm going to call it premium TVOD. I've been calling it that for a while. So premium TVOD, the 1999 to rent a first run movie. Mm-hmm. Why? First of all, there's no numbers, so nobody knows what's going on. So there's no box office returns on those numbers. So we really don't know what's happening. But I can tell you what happened with Onward, which was the new Pixar movie. It came out on premium. A week later, it was on normal TVOD for $6.99, and then a week later after that, it was on Disney Plus. So I don't know if that was just a marketing play. They're like, look, let's just throw it out on DP so we can get some more subscribers. And that might have been that play. But I don't know. I feel personally that we have been trained as a society that what's on the TV is not worth $19.95. If we rent at all, for me, $5,699 is ridiculous to rent a movie. I just like, I'll just wait a week or two or a month or two and it'll be on Netflix or Amazon or wherever. We have as a society, as a consumer base, are used to spending so much money on our television, on the way we consume things at home. Now you're telling us that you have to spend $20 to see the latest Black Widow, which I could really wait a month or two to see. I don't think it's going to be, it is going to be the revenue generator that Hollywood is hoping for. Would I spend money like on the next Fast and Furious? Maybe, depending on what else is going on in my life at that time. But this is me. But for other people, maybe these big giant tentpoles are what will drive. But we're talking about 10, 15 movies a year that will drive that kind of purchase. I don't think the independent, no one's going to spend $20 for an independent.
Not for an independent. But I also think that makes, again, that's for a lot of people that are listening to this show. I mean, I think it ties back into what you were saying earlier about not having a strategy, not having a plan. Is this landscape is literally changing by the day. I mean, sometimes by the hour. The amount of moves that are happening and the amount of options and the amount of changes within the sort of distribution ecosystem, it's just fascinating. And it's going to increase before it decreases, especially right now. So for a lot of filmmakers, for a lot of people who are making independent films, you got to ask yourself, what is the goal? What is the ultimate goal? Like, what do you want? Like, I talk to a lot of people that, when they go to Sundance, I'm like, well, what do you want? Of course, they want the honeymoon purchase, and they want, the 500
the 1992, circa 1992. Got it.
100%. Right. So, but what if you don't get it? Or what if you're not in Sundance? Or what if you decide, like I think a lot of people are going to moving forward, to skip the independent, the film festival circuit altogether?
Right.
You know what I mean? And say, okay, so how do you set yourself up and what do you want? And I think that's something that is going to become more important now. And I think, again, that's why you need to have that knowledge base ahead of time and not put all your sort of trust, even if you hire the most competent, and there are plenty of them, sales agents or distributors, whatever, or work with a distributor, and there are plenty of them. You still have to know what you want. And you still got to set yourself up for success, right? Right. What that looks like as far as how we're going to consume it, that I think, if anybody thinks they know what the hell is going on there, no one knows. They're full of shit. So,
dude, let me ask you a question. I was talking to a cinematographer friend of mine, and a bunch of the ASC guys were getting together, and they were just talking about what the future of production is going to be like. And, what the studios are looking at and things like that, because they feel, and as everyone feels, like production is going to change for the foreseeable future. Not only production at all being shot, but how it's shot. Whereas, we've been on sets a lot in our lifetimes, and sets are very closely touchy, and people are, it's not a 6 feet scenario, generally speaking. There's no social distancing on a set. So how do you open back up for business with actors and crew on a big set that has 100, 150 people, 50 people, 70 people on it? How do you do that? And like on a TV show, like that how do you do that? If you open up at all, how do you do that? So they were talking about what, it's going to be minimal crew. It's going to be less crew. It's going to be shooting things on green screen. The coverage is going to be different. It's going to radically change how things are done, because now the studio and the production companies are liable if anything happens, if they don't set these precedences in. So on-set production is going to change moving forward, at least for the next couple of years. And even then, I don't think it's going to go back to exactly the way it was before. So what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think you're going to see smaller crews. I think you're going to see people doubling up on jobs. I think, what I also anticipate, though, is I think this is going to be an interesting time for producers and filmmakers and directors, because, listen, there's always a give and take of what a director needs to make a film and what a producer wants to pay for. And
I can't get out of bed for less than $5 million, sir. I can't.
So there is definitely, I want this guy, I want that guy, or we need this, we need that. I think that it might affect budgets in a positive way. I think budgets might come down a little bit. I think maybe some, I don't want to call them non-essential jobs, but maybe some jobs that where you again maybe could combine forces, or where there could be some sort of creative way of going about it where you're not paying where you're paying X amount of people instead of Y. I think that is a definite possibility as well. There's going to be a lot of creativity, as we keep saying, and I think there's going to be a lot of innovation of how these things are going to be done. I also think that you're going to have non-essential set people probably back behind, I don't know if it'll be partition. I mean, I don't know what the hell it'll be, but it'll be behind something. Okay. It's crazy. I mean, it is crazy, but I mean, this. I mean, I have never been on a set, never, where if the production went more than 10 days, where, some sort of crud didn't rip through that set.
Some sort of illness, of course.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's a petri dish to begin with, especially when you're fighting and, when you're shooting in close corners. I'm writing a boxing movie right now, so there you go. But when you're shooting in close corners, that is that's an issue. I don't know how that comes back. I definitely see the skeleton crew kind of thing. You got your sound, and you got your camera, and you got
kind of like what we did.
Yeah, exactly. Only on a larger
finally,
scale.
Hollywood has finally came to my level, sir. Finally,
you're a pioneer. You didn't know it.
No, I do think that there is going to be that indesensibility where it's going to start stripping down to the bare. Like, what do we actually need to make this go? And there's going to be a lot of people who have no clue. Like when you've been, you'll enjoy this analogy. When you've been eating filet mignon all your life, you have no understanding how to eat a burger. Like you're like, what is this? Like that's the only thing you know. Especially television. There's a lot of crews and they've been doing their things 10, 15, 20 years. Asking a grip from a television grip who's been gripping for 20 years to change anything that they do on a daily basis is nearly impossible. So am I wrong? Like, and by the way, that goes for every crew member. Like, the sound guy's been doing it for 20 years. The production design, like they all have their way. And now you're going to say, no, now we're all going to have to wear bubbles. We're all going to be in plastic bubbles now. It's going to be outbreak on set. And that's how we have to move forward. It's insane.
Well, but sadly, it's also, do you want to work or do you not want to work? Like, you know what I mean? And I think that is the overarching question, not just for our industry, but for almost every industry, is how do you adapt to a point where the economics of the business still make sense and where we can function at a rate that not only is something that can make us money, like if you own a restaurant, for example, but keeps people safe and it keeps people productive and keeps people working. And I think that really legitimately is going to be the challenge. Now, you're already seeing a lot of the agencies, even CNN reported yesterday that they are not allowing any non-camera, basically, or production people in until September. I assume that's going to go way later. And you're seeing that with a lot of the agencies. They're saying, like, so again, through that, like even with us, like, we had everybody in our offices. My concern when we said, okay, we're shutting it down, everybody go home, was, okay, everything's going to go down. We're going to, the productivity is going to, just plummet. And it's been the opposite, because everybody is just relaxed. And like I said, we are busier than ever. And because we're busier than ever, there is this need to be more involved. And there's this need to be, deeper in it. So we're fortunate that way. Okay. But I also hear from a lot of, again, managers, agents, all these people that are working from home, people I know that work at CAA or WME that are like, I got to tell you, man, like I'm working more because the weekend doesn't matter to me anymore. It's not like I'm getting to the weekend home. And I'm like, I'm going to go to the beach. I'm home. Right. So it's like, what am I going to do? I'll read some scripts. I'll watch a film that, from one of my clients or from a prospective client.
It's going to fundamentally change the way everything is done. I mean, I'll tell you what, and I've been running Indie Film Hustle out of my home since the beginning. And I know like there's one buddy of mine who runs a very large company that is completely remote. All his staff. He's got a 10, 15 man woman staff, around the world. He runs it, and it's a multi-million-dollar company. And I go, why don't you get an office? He's like, why do I need an office? And he goes, I get an Upwork every once in a while if I need to go take a meeting, but generally speaking, I don't need to. So I think it's going to fundamentally change the way people do business, especially how we do business in town, because now they got a taste of that no traffic thing. They got once you get that taste of not having to get up. Like I've lived here for quite some time. I'm glad everyone's trying to join where I've been. Even when I was freelancing when I had my own post house, it was in my house. So I was like, yeah, I don't have to have the commute, it's all that stuff. Now everyone's starting to feel that freedom. They're like, hey, I don't know. Do I need to go to an office every day and deal with the traffic and the cost involved with the driving and getting food out every day? It's going to affect so many different industries. But how do you so now knowing what you know now and how your team is running, do you see things going back, or would you I think it just might be more affordable, to do work from home as remote and maybe have a place to go to? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that it's a great question because we've talked about it already. I mean, we've had those conversations,
right?
I think that I think I would keep the office, and I see no reason not to. And we have a really nice layout and everything like that. Yeah. It's a nice escape and everything, right? But maybe the amount of times that some people need to be in the office would be a little less. Because again, even for me, I sit there and go, sure, there's the expense connected with all of that too, but there's also, do I need them in the car an hour both ways? You know what I mean?
You're wasting 2 hours. You're wasting 2 hours.
Well, and also it's also the mental, the drain of being in the car for 2 hours for a person and everything like that. So, it makes you think about it. It makes you think about how do you keep everybody happy? So of course, when you're running a company, these are the things you think about all the time. I do believe, I really do, that I think a lot of these agencies and even some of the bigger management companies where I know the owners, they have said to me already, they're like, it really is changing our perspective on things, because in the case of one management company that I won't name, but it's big. I mean, they have, I think, 50 employee, 50 managers on the lit side and on the talent side. And they're like, they're working their asses off. We see the productivity, we see who they're working with, who they're signing, what deals they're trying to make, everything like that. So we're like, what do we need them in the office for all the time? Let them be comfortable and let them do what they got to do. So I do think it'll change things dramatically. I also think the way that movies come together, I mean, look, we were headed this way anyway. You talked earlier about foreign sales and everything like that. The fascinating thing of running Stage 32 over 9 years, one of the things that we thought from the very beginning was, look, where filmmaking is going is global. You can shoot in one place, do post in another, and all that other stuff. Obviously, that's, and that's been borne out over the years. But what we've been seeing more of over the last few years, which I think is really, really interesting, this plays into the economics too. You have co-country production, productions and incentives. I think those are going to rise dramatically, and we're getting a lot of people asking us for that. They're like, do you have scripts that we could shoot in Europe? And these are, American producers asking that because we know we can get money out of here if we do it this way. Canada, we hear from them all the time because Canada has deals freaking everywhere. They're like, co-country production deals. And they're like, do you have any script set in Hungary? You know what I mean? Because we can get money out of it. I mean, it's crazy. That I think is going to become more common. I think the way that people do business in that way is going to become more common. That plays into everything we talked about earlier about the markets, that people don't really necessarily have to come together for that, that if there is a place online where they could find that material, where these people can connect, where there's a bridge, that will become, I think, the new normal. I don't need to get on a plane to go over to Hungary to try to find that material and sit down with producers and see what they've, had gestating or that they're building. I could just get on a Skype and say, this is what we need to back into this deal. We need, can you get cast there? Can you get this there? We're seeing that all the time. So I think, all this, again, I mean, all of it is, to me, and I hope that this is a takeaway for everybody listening again that might feel down about right now or feel like, to me, it's really fucking exciting. It really is exciting to me.
Yeah.
Every call that I get on with an executive, and even Jason, like I said, Jason is the director of script services. Jason will call me 3 times a day and go, listen to this. listen to this. And what follows to the listen to this is so-and-so is doing blah, 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 blah. They're looking, da-da-da-da. So-and-so just signed, da-da-da. And it's fascinating to me because it makes you feel like, wow, they're thinking outside the box. They're coming up with ideas. This isn't going to be the is-all, end-all. The world's not ending. Like, you know what I mean? There will be some sort of, production. Things will happen. But everybody that I know that does development for a living or that makes their living in the 10% world, the managers and the agents and everything like that, they are setting themselves up to they're taking all those tools, all those shit, all that gold, and they're freaking stockpiling it in the corner. You know what I mean? And to me, that's really exciting. And, you're either a part of that or you're not. And that's what we were saying earlier. So, by the way, I just want to throw this out too. I throw it Jason a couple of times. I don't give a shit if you're a writer, a producer with some sort of package attached, or you're putting together a deal, or you're a producer that is looking for other attachments. If you don't reach out to Jason, it's really easy. j.merch, j.mirch at stage32.com. If you don't reach out to him, I mean, this guy literally the entire day is on the phone with just finding out what everybody did. That's his job. He's just on the phone all day. And then what he does is he takes people in our arsenal inside Stage 32 and the material that has been curated through Stage 32 has risen to the top and says, you need to read this, you need to look at this, you need to look, or I know a producer that has, or a filmmaker that has this actor and this amount of money, they need this amount of money and they need a showrunner and they need this amount of money and they need, whatever, and tries to piece it all together. And he's been doing that for a long time. We've all been doing it for a long time. But I mean, that's the exciting thing now. Like when he calls me and tells me that somebody who won one of our contests a couple of years ago, or somebody that got double recommend coverage from somebody like Blumhouse or whatever, is now in discussions because this company needs a fucking contained horror script. That's really cool to me because it just goes to show it motivates me and excites me because things are happening, So be out there, man. Be out there.
The world of distribution, and we can touch a little bit upon this. The world of distribution, as you know, is it's a rough go. It's a rough go of it, especially for the independent. And I feel that because I preach so much about distribution. I've talked so much about distribution, and obviously being in the middle of the whole distributor thing and the tug thing and all that other stuff that we've done. You could just start seeing, and I'm already hearing rumblings of other companies. I'm already hearing rumblings of other companies from people in the industry. Aggregators and distribution companies.
What are you hearing?
Oh, I can't say names, but aggregators are starting to fall behind on payments. There's certain aggregators that are already starting to fall behind on payments. There is no aggregator, to my knowledge, there might be, that had the distributor business model, meaning that that's all they did. Most of these aggregators are part of a giant post house. They're just a services-based business. So their main money is not coming in from that. But as everything else starts getting affected, the pressure, they start grinding, the pressure starts being applied, you start seeing what these companies are really made of, which is what happens with like an AMC, perfect examples. Like the second the pressure hit, we're out, bankrupt. Like we can't, they don't even, there's no reserves. There's nothing. They can't. So that's starting to happen. There's certain larger distribution companies who shall remain nameless. But they're starting to, I'm starting to hear rumblings about them as well. And how that's happening. I've been saying for a while now that things are going to become more predatory. And it's going to be tougher and tougher for filmmakers to get anything, let alone a deal. You can get a deal at almost, and I can't say all, but a lot of films can get a distribution deal. Will you ever make any money from that distribution deal is another story altogether. But you call up 20 distributors right now, one of them is going to take it for free. Why wouldn't they? They'll put it in their library and they'll package it out with something else. You'll never see a dime, but that happens. So I've always been curious about, and I've spoken to some other people at certain tiers. So like the tier that I talk about to most is the independent tier, the filmmakers that are not connected, who don't understand the business, who don't know how the game is played, which by the way, the game and the rules are changing daily, and now literally daily, because nobody knows what game we're playing anymore. At this, let alone the rules of that game. So I've always wondered, like, okay, well, someone's making money. And certain movies are being bought, and certain movies are getting MGs. And I've talked to some bigger acquisition companies and bigger distribution companies and producers. I'm like, how is it? And it comes to, from what I understand, it's relationships. It's built on relationships that's how they're getting these deals. So it's not like the olden days, like in the 90s, where you play something at Sundance and then that dude who shall remain nameless shows up for Miramax and buys your movie, and then you're set for life. Those days are kind of gone. They happen rarely, but they happen. It's more about who's repping the movie and who they have a relationship with, or if the producer has an existing relationship with a studio or a distribution company, that they kind of talk about it prior to even being made. Like, that's how these deals are being made. Because I asked them, like, how are you getting, like, I know your budget's $3 million, and I know, like, how are you actually getting paid? And are you getting an MG? And they're like, yeah, what was your MG? I'm like, we got $1.5 million on a $3 million. I'm like, okay, did you see any money on the back end? They're like, yeah, we got paid. So I'm like, why are they getting paid and the rest of the 98% of films made are not? So I came to the conclusion that it is relationships. It's absolutely relationships, pre-built relationships and connections in that way. And if you're outside of that world, that's why you want a distributor, because they have those connections to make sales, or you want a sales agent, what they say, quote unquote, you want a sales agent because they have the relationship that's going to get you the deal. And then that's where you open yourself up to all sorts of fun stuff that they do to filmmakers, and the predators start coming out. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on the matter, sir.
You're 100% right. I mean, it's a relationship business. That's the one thing that will not change. It's the same thing pre-COVID, post-COVID. It's a relationship business. What I said earlier, the three things that you could be doing, I said one of them is building your relationships right now. It matters. It is. I don't care if you're an actor, a writer, a producer, a cinematographer, a grip. I don't care. The point of the matter is the way you get jobs and the way you get things done in this business is by building relationships and winning champions. And we've talked about this so many times on probably every episode that we've done on here. And it still amazes me when people come to me and they're like, literally had it this morning. This is somebody that's been on Stage 32, and I hope he's listening. This is somebody that's been on Stage 32 for 7 freaking years.
Does nothing for me. No, not
even that. No, not even that. I always get that. I got one of those last week where he's like, I've been on this platform for 5 years and I got nothing out of it. And I looked at him. He had made 2 posts and he had 2 connections, which were me and Amanda Tony, our managing director, which you get when you sign up. So, I mean, I was like, well, yeah, obviously. But this guy wrote me and said, and again, 7 years active on the site, everything. Now, if you've been active on the site for 7 years, you have certainly seen some of our interviews.
I would hope.
You certainly have had the opportunity. You have certainly seen the insane amount of content that we put all over the platform, and the insane amount of content that I put on Instagram, Twitter, on Stage, everything like that. That speaks to these kinds of things. And he wrote me this morning and said, you need to get me now, I've never had any conversation. I know he's been a member for 7 years because I see him post every once in a while. He always posts about himself. Always. Never contributes anything to anybody else. Never. His network group never goes higher. Never. It's just always what he's doing, right? And he says to me, he goes, you need to get me to Steven Spielberg and Amblin because, okay, I have a film that's only $7.5 million. And it falls right in line to what they make. And
when? In 1973?
So there you go. So one is that he has no knowledge base, so he's not following the industry. He has no knowledge base. Okay. The second thing is that he's got no money. He only needs $7.5 million. And 3, I have no relationship with him. I'm going to bring him to Spielberg like I have him on speed dial. Hey, Steve.
Yeah, by the way, I was going to say, Can you connect? I would love to have a conversation with Stevie. Can you give Stevie a call for me?
Yeah, that's why I said, Stevie, I got this guy. He's got, all he needs is 7.5 large. That's all. I mean, 7.5 large, but this is what I'm saying. So why illustrate that? And why, because the point of the matter is that there are a ton of people that are like that. And that is one of those things when we talk about controlling what you can control. The one thing that you can control every single freaking day is dedicating part of your day to building relationships. I like to say to people, if you're on Stage 32 and you're not using it an hour every day, it's on you. Because I do. I use it an hour every day to build relationships. Everything that's good that's happened to me has come from relationships that I built through the years. They didn't happen the second I sent that network request.
Yeah.
They happened over time. Even the people that are calling us right now about Stage 32 screenings, there are two different types of people. There are people that I have never heard from before in my life that are like, you need to give me the exclusive and let me in first because I do this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, stand in line. And then the second group is the people, the distributors and sales agents that I know and that I've worked with in the past. And even them, I say, look, everybody's going to be on a level playing field. But at least I know that if that person isn't, and this has happened already, we've gotten interest in certain films, right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to go to that filmmaker and say, look, there's been 4 inquiries, okay? 2 of them are from people that I really, really know well and that are genuine and get the job done and can pick up the phone and call anybody, Netflix, Amazon. This is what they do. Talk to those 2 first. These other 2, you can talk to anyone you want. You can talk to any of the 4 in any order you want. I'm just telling you, I'm going to champion these 2 because I have a relationship with them. Mm-hmm. It's everything. And in the distribution world, this is the other thing, Alex, it has to be said because I think it's lost on people. You can make the greatest, you can make the next, whatever, pick your favorite film of all time. You can make the next one of it, okay? If you don't have connections and you just go to somebody and say, I made the next whatever, okay? They're going to go, how do I know? By the way, I have 50 films I need to watch right here that were recommended by 50 other people. And I trust them because their taste matters and their taste is exceptional. And if they're telling me to watch it, it's probably pretty good. Mm-hmm. You want to be in that group. You want to be in that group. You want to be in that group of people. So you are 1,000% right. The point of the matter is that everything from landing representation to getting a role sometimes, you know what I mean? To being called out of the blue to say you don't even have to audition, come down, or, to getting a distribution deal that matters comes from relationships.
Like I did with you. I just called you and said, you don't have to audition for my movie, RB. You see? So your system works. You see?
It works, man. I had that relationship with you. You called me and I said, where do you need me to be, man?
At what time?
Where do you need to be? What time?
What time and how much liquor do you need in me, sir, at the time that I'm shooting?
How much, what liquor are you going to have? And what is it, food? What do you got? That was pretty much my entire thing. That was pretty much my entire thing. No, but it's true. I mean, it's just relationships, man. It's the most underappreciated. It fascinates me that a lot of people don't get this because I always say that you should treat your business life like you treat your personal life in a lot of ways. Like if you strip things down and make it as uncomplicated as possible and you strip it down and you think about, like I always say, the relationships you have from 5 o'clock on, the people you go to dinner with, you go to hang out with, the people that that are non-business related, and you think about how long you cultivated those relationships and how long it took for you to get that trust and everything like that. It is no different in business. And I know you get these all the time. Let's just take it out of the film realm, okay, and let's just put it into the business realm. The other thing I get all the time, especially now. Oh God, when we launch screenings because we got so much media on it. I can't tell you how many businesses, how many people that run businesses have hit me up going like, we should partner. And I go, look at it. And they just launched and they have nothing and and it's like, I don't know you and I don't even know what you do. Of course the 20 people that come to me like Vintage, of course they're going to get first. I mean, I have a relationship with them. I know them. I love them. They're friends of mine. You know what I mean? We built this for 5 years, dude. 5 years we've been trying to figure out a way to work together. That's how much we love each other. We just haven't found that right fit. They called me the day that screenings got launched and they said, this is the fit. And I went, done, let's do it. Okay. I didn't have to sit there and go, what are you thinking? I know what they're thinking. I know what they can do. So of course they're going to go to the front. That's the way you have to treat everything you do. When you reach out to somebody blindly, ask yourself, why you? Why now? If they don't know you, it's not enough to say I got the greatest thing ever, because the idea is you got to get them to watch, you got to get them to read, and they're not going to watch and they're not going to read if they don't have a relationship with you or if somebody doesn't champion you to them. It's just the truth.
So let me ask you this then, because I know it's been this section of the interview has been kind of dire for certain people watching. So I want to see if there is any hope. What would be the advice for you if you have a film right now finished? In today's world, in the COVID world that we live in right now, what do? Do you shelve it and wait 6 months? Do you try to self-distribute? Do you try to go after distribution? Do you try, like, what's your opinion? What should they do?
I would find somebody that I respect in, producers I respect, people who work in that side of the industry, sales agents, distributors. And if I don't know those people, I would ask people that I do know that have made films and have done things to give me an in to that person, the introduction into that person or those people. And I would ask them their advice. I would say, right now in this situation, what would you be doing with this type of, because the answer really is different for every type of film,
sure.
Obviously. There are certain genres right now that everybody wants. The LGBTQ market right now, everybody wants that content because it was exploding to begin with. But now there's also a lot of online platforms that are streaming this kind of thing. There are a lot, they're being picked up. There's mandates. I can tell you there's a lot of mandates for LGBTQ material. And you gotta know who's playing there, and you gotta know, you know what I mean? So the one thing I would say is I wouldn't sit on anything, because to me, you could sit on your hands thinking that it's going to be done in a couple of months, and it could be, like you said, 2 years, and you're still sitting on your hands, and then what? Now you're lost. I mean, now you're done. Like, all that work and all the time and all the effort and all the money you raise and all the things you have to, everything you got to deal with your investors, and all your goals are now going to be double, triple harder. It's going to be that much harder to win that back or make good on anything at that point. So to me, it's a great time to be aggressive, but it comes down again to having a knowledge base, to having connections, and if you don't have those connections, man, this is what I'm saying. You could be working on them every day. Come from a place of selflessness. If you're an introvert, never a better time to step out of your comfort zone and just go at it. Be selfless, bring value, share content, do all the things that make you engage, that make people want to engage with you, because people will engage with you. You know what I mean? But you got to be aggressive right now, I think.
From your side of the fence, are you hearing streaming services and content producers and stuff, are they looking for independent films for their streaming services? Are they are they actively looking for that? Or are they looking more for series? If they have series, what is there a market right now for the real? It depends again on genre. If it's a certain kind of genre, obviously, but just a normal independent film that you would see play at a top tier festival. Is there a market for those? And
I absolutely believe there is. Absolutely, right now.
Is there money? But is there money for those as well? Is the question.
Certainly at Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, and stuff, places like that. Certainly there is. I think that's a lot of the premium networks. There's money. There is money there. They're looking for it. I think now is the time to be out with it. To be perfectly honest with you, I think the longer this goes, the higher the need for content is. But I also would say that, or is going to be, I would also say you have to be aware of, somebody asked me the other day, I talked to you about this TV pilot that had the blow-up guy and the blow-up producer and everything, that we're literally out there actively packaging, right? And somebody said to me, with your connections, why not just walk the script into Netflix and Amazon and everything like that? And I can. I can. There are people I could call that that work in development at those streamers, or know somebody that does. Okay, but here's the problem. All right, there is so much content out there right now. There is so many projects and so many scripts and so much material and everything like that. On the script end of things, or on the development end of things, they want the layup. Okay, so for example, what we were hearing. We had one streamer and 2 networks that are interested in this show right now. All 3 of them have said, get the actor, get the showrunner. Not we'll go get the actor, we'll go get the showrunner. Go get an actor, go get a showrunner, bring it back. Or if you can get one of the 2, bring it back. Okay, and we probably will be we'll likely be in business. Okay, there's so much of it that the less heavy lifting they have to do.
Right.
And that's it. And that's, again, why I implore you right now, if you are creative and don't understand the business, 1, that you're reading the trades, 2, that you're listening to this podcast, 3, that you're taking education and educating yourself and everything like that, that you're understanding, that you're taking the time to understand how the business operates. It's not enough in this day and age to be a creative anymore.
Right.
It really isn't. You need to at least, even if you don't want to be a producer, okay, you at least need to know how things operate and how things move, because it'll put you in a much better position to succeed. And you won't be the guy that says, I have a script that Spielberg will love and I need $7.5 million. Now, by the way, if that guy had written me, even if I didn't know him, and said, I have 3.5 of the 7, and the 7.5, and I have actor X, I would have been like, let me see who I could call.
Yeah, but it's not going to be Steven.
Well, I might, maybe I'll get to, well, it's not going to be Steven, no. But I mean, let's see what we can do with that. You know, there's always, things like that come across our, across Stage 32 all the time. But the more value you can bring, the better the package, the more likely that something's going to get done right now.
Well, that's the thing, is that even with filmmakers, that's why distributors and buyers are always looking like, well, what else do you have besides the movie's not enough anymore? Like, do you have an audience already built in? Oh, okay. Who are your actors? What's their Instagram followings and all that kind of that ridiculousness? But it is a thing. I was talking to an actor the other day who's a buddy of mine who is a very seasoned character actor. He's been in a million things, and he used to do a lot of work. He told me, he's like, I do 2 national commercials a year, and I'd be good. I'd be good for the year. But now the game has changed, where they're not doing residual payments as much anymore. They're doing they're doing buyouts and all this stuff. So he had a casting agent friend go, hey, can you come in and just sit for the day and read against all these other ones we're doing castings? And he's like, I'll pay you. I'm like, all right, I need the money. I'll do it. So he'd show up, and right before, every time before the actor would walk in, there was a lady in the corner that would yell out, 72, 30, 450, 10. And it went on all morning. And he's like, but no one would refer to them. And he would just say out this, they would say this number out. And then at lunch, he pulled her aside. He goes, listen, what's up with the numbers? What are those numbers? He goes, oh, that's the Instagram followers.
Oh yeah, man. Oh,
in casting.
God.
And I was like, wow. And that is like, why would you cast somebody if you have 2 equal actors who could do the job and have the same fame or whatever, but one has 100,000 followers and one has none? Why wouldn't you just give it to the 100,000? That's an extra. Like, if another 1,000 people watch your movie or rent your movie or whatever, that's more than the other could offer. So it's not even enough about being the best of the best and being super good. It's about what else you can package it in, what else you can bring it in, what other ancillary, value you can provide in every aspect. So you can't just be a director. You have to be a writer-director, or you got to be a writer-director-producer with some credits behind you. Or I could also bring post to the table. Oh, I also have a relationship with this actor. And I already have a distribution company that's already pre-bought this. Like, you need to, the days of just being the one-trick pony, and that works for some people. Like if you're Chris Nolan or David Fincher and those kind of guys, that's a different time and a different caliber. But that's a that's a small group of guys and girls that could do that. The rest of us have to bring other things to it. Like,
Well, and they did it when they started. They brought the value too. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, they didn't break in with. They brought. That's how they got there. I think that everything you're saying is absolutely correct, and I think that when you bring, you have to be. We don't want everybody to get crazy about the idea of, well, I don't have 100,000 Instagram followers. But the point of the matter is that there is different types of ways you can bring value. One of the films that's on Stage 32 screenings, I love this story. It's called Best Summer Ever. Yeah. And the people that made the film, the whole idea behind the film, it's an hour and 15-minute musical. Now, okay, so let's just start there. An hour and 15-minute musical, the idea of getting theatrical and the idea of, it's kind of in a little bit in no man's land, right? Plus it's a musical. But the whole idea behind it was most of the actors and everyone even down to the producing team, part of the producing team, are people with special needs, okay? So they went and raised some money, okay? And then they went to Maggie Gyllenhaal, Peter Sarsgaard, and Benjamin Bratt and said, we're not asking you to star in it. We're not asking you to carry the movie. We're just asking you to, would you be willing to play a part in this? and they got them. They used the money they raised, and they did what they needed to do to get them. Okay, that's extreme value. Now, if they took that, even though it's got that totally uplifting aspect to it, if they take that script and unknown music, unknown songwriters, musicians, and they take it out, people are going to go, it's really nice, but this is show business. It's not show friends, right? Like, we get it, but we just can't throw the money into it. But now they bring the value of the actors. So now there's both of these things, okay? They know there's an audience for it. They know they have these actors. There's more value. Now, all of a sudden, boom, this thing gets elevated, right? Now everybody wants to be a part of it. We put this was one of the first films we took live on screenings, and this is one of the ones that they've already had for, and I think this morning there was one other one, requests for meetings, for distribution. And it's because, again,
the values
they
there.
put together the package. So that's just a way to illustrate what we're talking about here. There's always a way. It's like I said, with our pilot, it's like, you know what we hear? We go, great producer, man. Oh, yeah, that gets the job done. Oh, that actor? That gets the job done. Who's your showrunner? And we're like, really? No, that's not enough with those two? No. Who's your showrunner? Okay. All right. So now we got work to do. Now we got to go. Now we have showrunners reading. And, if you can get one more actor. So, okay. So we have some actors reading, because right now actors are home doing nothing except making, videos singing Imagine. So, we're in a golden time. It's just, how do you take advantage of it? How do you position yourself? And that's the question you should ask yourself every day. What do I want to accomplish today? What do I want to do today that puts me in a better position to get to my goal? Our goal is to get this show made. To get that show made, these are the two bridges we have to cross. We need to find that valuable showrunner. We got to find at least one of the two. Find that value. So, okay. This is,
If you remember, of course, back in the day with a movie like The Player, it used to be based, the way Hollywood used to work was all based on a pitch. You didn't have to bring other value than an idea, not the script, not a polished script, not the package deal, none of that. It was based off of a pitch. And pitches now are rare if they ever get picked up anymore. But now you've got to bring it. They don't want to do any heavy lifting at all. They want everything to be handed to them on a silver platter. Why? Because there's a million other projects.
Choices, man.
There's too much choices. So you've got to provide as much value as you can. So as an independent filmmaker, bring in an audience, bringing a system, having actors or cast that have an audience. What other value can you provide? Do you have some sort of distribution? Do you have some sort of deal? Do you have some sort of sponsorship that you can leverage? Is there something else that you can bring to the table other than the amazing film? Because the amazing film arguably is not enough in most cases.
Well, and look, this is what goes back to the idea of the right rep. This is kind of an interesting segue, because I was repped by the guy. I've talked about this a lot. Rep Shane Black, and if you talk about selling a pitch, I mean, he literally sold the Last Boy Scout for $3 million off a napkin, an idea on a napkin. Literally, he invited the studio heads down to his office. They got to spend a half hour with the napkin, and by the end of the day, it was $3 million. So that's changed dramatically. Now he was my manager for a while. We decided to. For still amicable, everything was fine, but I, wanted to move in a different direction. I have not secured, even though I'm writing the feature that I'm writing right now with the guys at Zero Gravity. I am not repped. I don't want to be repped. I'm doing it on my own. So putting this pilot together, putting my producer's hat on, working with other producers, and I'm doing it now. If I had a rep that was of a certain stature, there is the chance that rep might have been able to walk a pilot in or walk a feature in or whatever and say, we don't have any assets, but this is the deal. And they might say, because this is a trusted source and maybe they've done something before with that network or they've done something with the streamer, that they say, we'll take it on. Okay. We'll figure out a way to put it together or whatever. We'll bring in our producers. You guys will co-produce and we'll put it, it could be anything like that, right? So I don't want to say there's only one avenue. We all know there's a million avenues. But what I will say is the best way to put this is the more you can control, the better off you're going to be. And the longer you can control it, the better off you're going to be. So, for example, if you had a feature script and you gave it to your manager and your manager goes and sells it or whatever, and then they say, okay, now we want to rewrite the entire thing, you're off the film. Okay, you're gone. But If you have that same feature script and you're helping to put it all together, you're working with people to put it all together, and you bring it as a package because now you have an actor or a director or whatever
who loves the script, who loves the script,
who loves your script, the odds are you getting fired off that script are much less. So again, it's everything is controlling. My whole thing is control things for as long as you can control them, for as far as you can control them.
Yeah.
And to be able to do that, you have to educate yourself on the way that things work. And you have to know what's going on in the business too. If you're not reading the trades every day, it's another thing.
Well, now, but now more so than ever, because literally the world is changing on a daily basis. Our industry is changing on a daily basis. Companies are going down. New blueprints and new paths are being created to generate revenue. Like there's things. Quibi all of a sudden showed up. And now I've heard mixed things on Quibi as far as the back end's concerned. Like they're spending obscene amounts of money, and they're not getting what they want. They're not getting the numbers that they wanted. I think the first, and don't quote me on this, but it's like 700,000 users or something like that when they were expecting a lot more. And I was talking to my DP friend. He's like, yeah, they were also talking about how they shoot. Like their productions are completely different. So they shoot it vertically and horizontally at the same time. And their deal, to my knowledge, Quibi's deal is they own it for 2 years. And then after that, it's yours to do with as you wish. And one of my actors from This Is Meg, he's from Reno 911. And Reno 911 was one of the companies, one of the shows that Quibi picked up. He told me that they paid amazingly. They did really it was an hour and a half of content. So it's basically 9 shows.
Yeah.
9, 10 shows. They're paying. Good.
Yeah, we're doing actually doing a webinar. It's this week. It's either this weekend or the beginning of next week with Tripper Clancy. Tripper, it's about writing for Quibi. Tripper's been in the business for a long time. Tripper has sold shows to everyone. He sold 2 shows to Quibi. And so he's going to teach it's not just the writing thing, it's producing too, like how to negotiate with Quibi and how to position yourself with Quibi. And he was like, I got to tell you, this was out of everything I've done, these were like 2 of the easiest sort of deals to put together. And, from the content to making the deal, he said, it was amazing. So again, do you have that tool in your arsenal? If you're a writer or a producer, don't you want to know where, these people have spent $1 gajillion buying content? Wouldn't you like to know how to get to them or how to write something? That's what I'm talking about, though. If you're either doing it or you're not. You know what I mean? You're either doing it or somebody else is. And if you got to know.
Yeah, and if you didn't know what Quibi was, like if you're listening to this right now and you're like, "What's Quibi?" I'm like, "You're already behind the curve. You're already behind the curve if you don't know what Quibi is." And I'm not saying that that's the future. It might crash and burn in a year. Who knows?
It might. It totally might. It's not off to a great start.
It's not off to a great start, but there's real big money behind it. There's real power players behind it. I don't think personally it's the future of content. I think it's an addition to where we're at. I think it's just another thing, another way to consume content, but I don't think it's the future. Like everything's going to be 10-minute episodes. I don't think that's going to be a thing. I said famously, we'll talk in 2 years to see what happens. But I don't think but it's just another thing.
I think there's a place for short form content. I think that they had a blessing and a curse thing happen, which I'll be honest with you, I thought it was going to be a blessing, but that I didn't think it all the way through. But I was like, oh wow, they're launching. How lucky are they that they are launching while everybody's home, because people are going to be looking at. But the problem is, the thing I didn't think through was you can only watch it on your phone. And people are now home with their 70-inch TVs, and they're saying, "Why the hell do I want to watch this on my phone?"
Quibi needs to. They need to set something up for an app, like a television app. They have to. Yeah. To survive, they have to survive. They're even still 10-minute episodes. That's fine, but it's a weird education, a weird challenge to educate the public on what they're trying to do, because it's a learning curve for people. It's a new way of doing things. So I'm interested to see where it goes. We'll see. We'll see. It's just a weird time, man. It is such a weird time to be around and to be doing what we do. I've never experienced anything like this. I've never even heard of anything like this in the history of our industry. The unknown is so incredible. That's scary and yet very exciting at the same time, because literally in a month or two from this conversation, the world could be completely upside down in another way. Our world in the industry could be completely in a different way. And all of a sudden now, okay, all markets are closed. Everything's now digital, and this is the company who's doing it. And all festivals are shut down for the next 3 years, and Sundance is going to be on Stage 32. Like, there's a million different ways of things happening, and I'm glad that you were able to come on so we could talk about this. I want to bring you back in the fall to kind of do a postmortem in the next 4 or 5 months and see what happens, and to see if all the predictions we might have had or talked about what actually laid out. Let's see what happens in the fall, because man, this is just so freaking unheard of, man. I hope everyone listening takes what we've said to heart and goes out and educates themselves, and gets prepared and be Stallone in Rocky 3 in that underground basement gym, ready to go fight Mr. T, because this is the time, like you were saying, the smart managers and agents are just stockpiling. So when the doors do open, they can just come in and go, look what I've got. And that's where all of us listening should be doing in one way, shape, or form. I'm doing it on my end. I know RB is definitely doing it on his end, and that's what we got to do, without question. Any final words, sir?
Well, yeah, I would say that the doors are going to swing open. I think a lot of doors are open right now. I would highly recommend. Look, I know for a lot of people this isn't easy. They're not feeling motivated and everything like that. Shut the news off. Do yourself a favor. Don't look at your Twitter stream, because, not only is there a lot of gloom and doom and a lot of anger and a lot of hate out there, and right now I don't think any of us need anger or hate in our lives. So shut that out. Shut out the noise. The other thing I highly recommend when we talk about educating yourself is don't educate yourself through Twitter as well, because there's a lot of bad information out there. There's a lot of bad information. I spent a half hour looking through one day, and I'm like, this is so damaging and detrimental that you have to know who you're listening to. You have to do researches on the voices before you believe them. Know who these people are. Know who you're taking education from, or if you read the trades, you're safe. You know what's going on. But put yourself in positions, if you're not feeling really motivated, to cut out the negativity and get yourself there. And if you are feeling motivated, there really has not been a better time. I can't stress it enough. Whether you're using Stage 32 or whether you're using something else, make sure you're networking. Make sure you're building those relationships. Make sure you're educating yourself. Make sure you're putting in the work and the time, and you're understanding what's going on in the business in the day-to-day. And if I could just throw out follow me on Instagram and Twitter.
Oh, obviously. Don't worry. It'll be in the show notes, dude. Don't worry. It'll be
there. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at RB Walks Into a Bar.
Obviously. Which he's not anymore. Actually, you're going to have to change your handle now, because you can't walk into a bar anymore. You can't.
Well, I walk into my own bar now. It's over there. But RB Walks Into a Bar on Instagram and Twitter, but also on Stage 32. If you are a new member, you will see my mug on your wall. The second you sign up, do drop me a line. I answer everything. And if you are on Stage 32, like I said, you had any questions, or even on Instagram or whatever, if you have any questions, shoot me a DM. I'm happy to answer them. And if you have any questions, like I said earlier, about where your material fits or where your finished film fits or anything like that, j.merch at j.mirch at stage32.com. And the final thing I'll just throw out again, screen, because we need everybody's help on this. We really do. Everything we've done with Stage 32 screenings has been grassroots. Vail has gotten, quite a few of the film festivals have gotten behind us, but some of them haven't. So if you had a film or know somebody that had a film at South by, Tribeca, Mountain Film, Vail, or BFI London Flair, LGBTQ, please send them our way. And if you're a film festival director, or if you were in another film festival and it was canceled and you want to be involved with screenings, just write us at screenings@stage32.com. There you go.
And before we finish, sir, we can't have a conversation about COVID-19 and in the entertainment business without speaking about Tiger King. Did you see it, sir?
I did kitty cat. I saw
Hey,
cat,
you cool cats and kittens out there?
kill cats and kittens. Did you happen to see today that apparently 9 big cats, 8 or 9 big
Yeah,
cats,
have
were
COVID.
diagnosed with COVID, which is crazy. I did see it. I haven't seen the bonus
And the bonus,
episode.
it's just interviews. It's just interviews. I
Yeah,
watched half of it. I was like, it's okay.
I saw it. It was, I showered heavily after it
Ooh.
was over. Yeah, 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 very heavily after it
It's
was over. But I did see
fascinating.
it.
It's fascinating to watch that show because, and for everybody who has not heard of Tiger King, it's a docuseries on Netflix, and I think the timing couldn't have been more perfect for that show. I'm not sure if it comes out before Corona. I don't know if it has the same
It does as well. Yeah.
It does. It doesn't have the same cultural impact that it did, but because everybody was home and they said, "Hey, what's this?" And this is exactly what happened. Like I turned on Netflix. I'm like, "It's Tiger King," and I just like watched the trailer. I'm like, that looks interesting. Let me see. Like I'll pop it in. So I watched the first episode. And I just like, this can't be. No, this can't be real. And like it just and every episode just gets more ridiculous and more ridiculous and more and you're like, oh, and there's a drug dealer. Oh, and she killed her husband and fed him to the tigers. Oh, and he has music videos now. Oh, and there's merchandise. It's like a really bad Christopher Guest film. Like, when he's walking around showing the merch, he's just like, and here the towels are really so like, and his mugs on it. And then I saw the best Facebook and Twitter remarks. So like, I just saw Tiger King. Is it me or does Joe Exotic not sound too bad as a singer? Like, I'm not into country, but it's like, he's not bad, right? I mean, is it me? Like, he's not, I like some country, but I'm not a cute country fan. His voice isn't bad. Like the music videos are,
Hilarious.
They're brilliant. It's just a level of genius. It's almost to the Room level of genius of how good, I saw Tiger and Tiger saw me. Like this pseudo erotic thing he had going on with the tigers. Like, I can't, but like, is it me? He's not that bad of a singer.
I actually thought he was a very good singer too, but then I found out that he didn't sing.
Oh no!
It was a country, yeah.
No,
It's
what
a country
happened?
band. Yeah, it's a country band.
Really? Yeah. I was gonna. Yeah. Oh my! So he Milli Vanilli'd it.
Yeah, he Milli Vanilli'd it, and it's so funny because when I was watching it, I'm like, how does that voice come out of that voice? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how does he get it there for the singing when he speaks, he sounds like, it's been ripped across gravel. It's really interesting.
So now you see, I've learned something new today. This whole interview was not for naught because now I know that Joe Exotic did not sing, but the music videos are.
Oh, they're epic. I mean, those are epic. There's a lot of freaking epic things about that thing. I mean, it's just.
It's the biggest. It's hard to explain in words, like the experience watching it, because you watch it and you're just like, this can't be real. Like, it was just so many. Like, if you would have written that script, you've jumped the shark. It's just you've just gone too far. Pull back a little bit. No one's gonna believe this.
Yeah.
But then the two gay guys who are the two husbands who are supposed to be gay, but they're not really gay, and because he just has them on meth, and then the guy with no teeth. And the guy or girl who got her arm ripped off by the tiger, who went back to work a week later. Like, it's just, there's so much. If there's
well, you said it's hard to put it into words. How to explain it. For me, it's hard to put it into words why I watched.
There's that. My wife looked at me. She's like, I can't believe you wasted 7 hours of your life with this. I can't believe you did this. I'm like, you just don't understand. You just don't. She's like, this is, and she saw it in the background. That was a funny thing. She'd be doing something else and she'll just hear it going. And then I would hear every once in a while, she killed her husband. Like, is that a drug deal? Did the arm come off?
It's like we said before we got on the air. It's like, if you work in satire right now, you're completely fucked. I mean, you just done.
No,
I mean, you can't. How do you come up with anything? Like, it's the absurdity of what we're seeing right now, and then stuff like that. It's like you said, if you wrote it, you'd have to pull it back. It's like, it's so absurd that it's almost unbelievable. But
it's insane.
What else have you been watching? What have you been? Let's get some recommendations out there.
Well, Bosch. I just finished Bosch, season 5 of Bosch. I'm very excited that there is going to be one last season. I wish it would be more, but Bosch is arguably one of the best detective shows on air. It's so good. The first 5 seasons were excellent, well written. The cinematography is amazing. The cast is great. It's just a hard-boiled LA detective, and it's just so well executed. So I finished that. I finished Shameless. I finished the last season of Shameless. We finished off Ray Donovan as well. That's over as well. And right now I'm in the Blacklist. I'm in the middle of the Blacklist.
Oh, okay.
I'm catching up, and I'm catching up on all these shows that were supposedly really great, and I'm on almost at the end of season 4 of Blacklist. So we're just like binging that right now, finishing that off, and yeah, we that's it basically. I mean, now it's just TV, occasional news once in a while, but that's basically. And then of course Shark Tank and Songland. Those are my 2 reality show pleasures, guilty pleasures.
Yeah.
Songland, I love Songland just because I love fascinated to watch how they fucking write songs. It's like they're like, oh yeah, here's the beat, and they'll just start, and I'm like, how? It's like, what? And Shark Tank, obviously, because.
Shark Tank.
But I'm curious of what's going to happen to the new season, like the new series, the fall. Like, you need to shoot that over the summer, so.
They might do it where all the sharks are at home on Zoom. And
no, that's Shark. I'm talking about generally the television season.
Oh yeah.
Right now we're still in the world of everything's in the can. This is stuff that's been on the shelf or in the can, or we're finishing up what we already shot. Things are going to get real interesting when there is no new production, there is no new TV. So, brother man, it has been a pleasure as always having you on the show. We've had epic conversations. I think the longest record still is 3 hours and a half for that Oscar show that we did years ago. That was a long epic one. But thank you for coming on, man. Thank you for everything you're doing for the community and for filmmakers in general. We got to take it one day at a time, but thank you so much for all your insight, man. I appreciate it, brother.
No, dude, thank you for having me on. I love you, and I love coming on here, and I love talking to this amazing audience that you've built and this brand you built. And like I said earlier, if this is one of the first ones you're listening to or the first one you're listening to, you need to listen to the other ones. But Alex and I are dear friends. We've built this relationship over a very long period of time, and I love what you're doing for the community, and I love you, and you know that. So, look, we'll all get through this. It's going to be. What was the movie? It's going to be a bumpy ride, bumpy night. What was that? It's
going to be a bumpy ride, but but the industry is resilient. It's a very resilient industry, and it's never going to go away.
Well, the most important thing, I'm glad you said that. The most important thing, and we can kind of end on this note, is the industry is resilient, but right now is the time for, if you're somebody that really desires, or you're in the business already, you have a desire to have a career in this business, now's the time for you to be resilient and to really dig in if you can. And I think when you're on the other side of it, I think I really do think the opportunities are plentiful now. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to be off the charts, because the need for content is never going to go away.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man. Talk to you soon. Stay safe.
Thank you.